Good morning.
Hey Chris, thanks
Hi,
for being on
alumni.
this
How you
call.
guys? Good to see you. Wow. It's the first alumni call I've been on for a while. It's good to see you guys from all over the world. Yeah, I get to see alumni when I travel because you guys often show up and our prayer teams. So beautiful. Yeah. I hope you're doing well. Obviously, we're on here. I'm on here today, not to do some great teaching, which I'm sure you're all enamored by at this moment, but to just talk through the righteous revolution that we're in the middle of, that we get to be a very big part of in a way that we probably don't want to be a very big part of. Yeah, are we just waiting for some more folks to join us?
We were stalling a little bit, but the team are
Okay.
getting them in. As quickly as they're getting them in, people are joining. So I think Chris, we just go for it, and people can watch the playback later.
Yeah, good. Okay, I'll just jump in. First of all, I don't know. I'll just act like you didn't see a couple of Sundays ago morning because I don't know how many of you got to watch this. Maybe you all did, but I just want to first of all apologize for my participation in this whole crisis, and I'm sorry that you guys as BSSM students are carrying a stigma that you don't deserve. It didn't. You guys were loving us and trusting us and being here and trusting us as as leaders and fathers and mothers, and we disappointed you, and I just want to say that I take full responsibility for that. I on In the case of the in Sean's case, I'm sure you know the circumstances. We did obviously excommunicate him in a timely fashion, but we didn't tell the world. We didn't tell the alumni till incredibly late. I'm very sorry for that. That was a decision that really honestly had never been in that situation before, and that isn't an excuse at all. It's just what really happened, and I'm extremely sorry for that. We had other circumstances that are coming around with some other folks, Bob Hartley, who we took off our stage years ago, but he was still around, and things began to emerge about his prophecies being, we actually caught him Googling a prophecy, I think it's around 2017, invited him in my office and said, you can't minister to anyone. And then later on, accusations about his behavior sexually came out, and we excommunicated him, and we did send a letter to our entire body. Um, these things they're hard to deal with, and I think we're on a huge learning curve, and I I I and then of course you see the videos that are coming out, and everything in me wants to defend myself, and I'm not sure we should shoot the messenger. I think a good plan is to listen and to learn and to grow. And, sometimes, obviously, just like anything that we see on social media, some things are, there's two sides to every story, and sometimes people are putting motives to your situation, and you just want to, shout, that's not how it was. But I think that um, there's enough truth there that we can learn and we can grow and we can repent and we can learn. I do, because you're our students. I do want to tell you that um, I think this has been a huge. I have never known shame before, because you know how transparent I am about my own stuff. When I do something wrong, I usually write. It's usually a chapter in my book somewhere. I'm usually the first one up front, confessing my God told me there's no more cussing or whatever. I'm usually super transparent. So I've definitely failed a lot. I've never really known shame. So just learning how to navigate shame and do the opposite, operate in opposite spirit and not hide and be, fully transparent. we're in the midst of investigating a bunch of the things that are being said. A lot of the things that are being said, I didn't know that information. We didn't know that information. So it's good for us to, before we make comments about things and find out later it looks like we're liars, I think it's really good for us to just get in and investigate. We had a really good conversation with our board yesterday, and we've asked them also to be a part of holding us all accountable and looking at everything from every angle and making sure that we're doing our best. Yeah, a little bit of things that I just been trying. When you fail, you can run around and defend yourself and go, "I didn't do that," or that's not the way that happened," or that's a lie," or and I don't know, I'm sure everyone's failed before, right? Everybody's failed. So it's common for all of us to, like, if someone else is talking about your failure instead of and it's on, in our case, where it's on big screen, it's just really easy to get in that mode. And I think that what helps, though, is when you stop and you say, okay, you really did fail. So first of all, you are not a victim. So I want to say this: Kris Vallotton, Bill Johnson, our team, we are not victims. So I know that several of you over the years have jumped in and defended us. Thank you very much. So good to have people that love and believe in you, of course. But we are not victims. The victims were the people that were not well defended. They are the victims. And that's really important that we stay in that position, that we are not the victims. And yes, when the truth gets a little twisted, or maybe it's even true, but it's a side you didn't see before, it's easy to jump in and you become the victim and you invite all your loyal people to come in and defend you. That's not what we need right now. We need repentance. That means that we have to understand exactly what we did, and we have to actually change our mind about what we did, and then we have to bring forth fruit. If we stand up and defend ourselves and do stupid stuff again, we actually haven't repented. So this is the process we're in. And some of the process we've done a thorough job of, and some of the, in new indictments that are coming out, as there's some things coming out about Ben Armstrong, of course. I've known Ben since he was 3 years old. And some of the things that are coming out, I never heard before. So, we'll need to, before we run around like in defending Ben, or Ben defends himself, the right thing to do is listen. It's painful to listen to things like this. Interview the victims, understand the situation well, and then we can repent when we actually, I think that there's also, in a situation like this, we haven't hired a PR firm. People are kind of like, you guys need a PR firm. No, we don't need a PR firm. We need to be mothers and fathers who speak honestly about our failures, where we find we've actually failed, and not be under pressure to say what everybody wants us to say, but actually say what God's told us to say, and bring forth fruit of repentance. We need to be a model of what happens when you fail. And that's what we need to do. So some of the things that we're not speaking about now, it's because we need to do a ton more investigation. We're not sure how this happened, what happened exactly, and what is it we're actually repenting for, instead of running around telling everyone we're sorry, and they're like, "What are you sorry for?" I'm like, I'm not exactly sure what we're sorry for in some certain circumstances. In the case of Ben Armstrong, which we're just finding out about. No, we're just finding out about. We just heard about the victim of a week ago or two, recently. We've always seen Ben as a trophy of grace. People have to have, I mean, the message of the kingdom is that everyone can be restored, no matter how far you've fallen. Everyone can be restored. And if that's not true, then I don't even want to be a part of this. If people can't fail and have a path back, then I'm not sure exactly what we're doing. So we've celebrated Ben for many years, 16 years, as a trophy of grace. If Ben failed in the process someplace, it's nothing we've known about. So we'll find out. And uh, we'll do whatever's appropriate in his case, which will not be cover up or anything like that. That doesn't help Ben, doesn't help the victims, and it's not honest. Um, so that's where we're at in that situation. I live with a ton of grief. So my life-loving people, and and when you fail, it better hurt. It better hurt. If it doesn't hurt, then I'm not sure what the heck you're doing in the ministry. You're not going to always get it right, of course. We have thousands and thousands of people in our movement. I when I came here, um, the biggest thing I'd ever done was lead 45 men in a business. And we got to Weaverville. Went from Weaverville to here. I had a youth group of 120 kids once. I guess that was pretty monumental. Um, but we got here and, within a year, Bethel Church blew up. We started growing. Our school started doubling every year. And I had never really been in public ministry besides leading a youth group in Weaverville. So I want to say that, my point is kind of building the plane while it's flying and on a huge stage. Uh, and I think so many of these things that were done wrong were just partly my fault. I'd never been on stage like this before. I didn't know what to do. I'd never experienced people failing like that before. I think we had been, in our little town of Weaverville, pretty famous for helping broken people. Like 3/4 of our church were broken people. Um, so, coming here, one of our core values that we developed in Weaverville was we believe in you before you deserve it. That core value saved my life. Bill believed in me. I met Bill when I was in the middle of my first nervous breakdown. 2 kids, moved from the Bay Area to start my life over. And he believed in me. It made a huge impression on me that someone would believe in me while I was broken. And I think that became strong core value for us because that was my experience. And I think that some of the challenge that we've had that I see now is that got overemphasized in our ministry as we were reaching out, helping broken leaders. There was another core value that needed to be in place, and that is making sure that when you restore a leader that's broken, you're not restoring them like you're restoring a broken person who has no favor. Because leaders that are broken and still have gifts, they become more dangerous if they're not well. I see that now. Um, I made some notes at 4 o'clock this morning. I woke up and I felt the Lord talking to me. Started yesterday. I was in Dan's office yesterday with Steve, actually. We were having a conversation, and it opened a door to me. I think it might be good if I just read these notes, not because they're scripted, but because just I just had this I think change of heart and mind. Um, as we were investigating these situations of powerful people, victims of powerful people, and interviewing the people involved, there's a common unhealthy theme that's emerging that I've personally never understood. In many cases where there is a powerful person in an environment, their influence can affect people in unhealthy ways in which the people they influence become victims of their influence. I think this is where what I think is being called spiritual abuse. I don't know how much I believe in spiritual abuse still. Well, I believe in the concept of it, but as far as like, when I say believe means you actually take action. Um, I wrote this. If these powerful individuals are in any way unethical, those victims tend to either blame themselves or worry about exposing the powerful person for fear of retribution. Maybe I should give you a little background. So now, we're reaching out to the victims. So I've reached out to several victims and had conversations with three of them. And one thing that has come out is that a lot of these people who were victims, they were victims for like years before they said anything. And then when one person said something, a whole bunch of other people like would come out and say, "Yeah, that happened to me too." And so I'm like, okay, what's happening here? And I think that I see way more clearly now that when somebody is powerful and you're the victim of someone powerful, as opposed to, let's say, a broken person on a broken person, like an obvious person who doesn't have a stage or isn't famous. Um, that the victim worries that the person who victimized them will be believed or will punish them if they come out. I think this is where the church thing is really, I see it now, that's really important, where someone can report that they've been victimized and without any retribution. So that's really important. Another dynamic that I see last night is another dynamic is that the victim's concerned that they will not be deemed credible because the powerful person will be protected or at least believed. And I think that's another dynamic that's very true. As we investigate these situations, this dynamic is becoming clear to me that many people who were violated remain silent. I would say that most of the people in these situations that were violated remain silent for many years. They don't tell anyone. Um, I also see that the teaching of honor, authority, and fatherhood and motherhood must be balanced with warnings of leadership abuse. And I feel like um, also we must create safe places for people to share their experiences without any fear of retribution. I think that our teaching about fatherhood, motherhood, and honor, all those things are true, of course. But the other side of that tension is that there are people who, obviously now, who are abusive, and along with the teaching of honor and fatherhood and motherhood and all those teachings that I actually wrote about, given my life for, there's also the teaching of abuse that must not be tolerated with leaders. We have to be held to a higher standard. I saw another thing too. early this morning that, I was abused for 12 years as a child. And although I was victimized, I refused to become a victim. And Jesus healed me over time. Of course, that's my story. But what I didn't realize is that no one trusted my stepfathers. Like my stepfathers were clearly the villain, and I was clearly the victim. So I was never put in a situation where it wasn't clear who the victims were and who the villains were. So I overemphasized not becoming a victim when you're victimized. I think that because my childhood was so dramatic, and I was victimized, but I said to myself when I was 17, I moved out and said I refuse to be a victim. I was victimized, but I refused to be a victim. I think it was easier for me to do that because everybody knew my two stepfathers were victimizers. Nobody was trying to protect them. No one was believing them. And I think that the other side of that is that the truth is I was a victim. And I think that in my life, helping people to get well, the way I got well was you were victimized, but don't be the victim. But the challenge is there are a lot of people who are victims, who are abused by, not just spiritual leaders, but people of power. And they remain silent because they're afraid. And and I think that sometimes teaching people that you're not victims shuts their voice and silences them when they should speak up. Obviously, that was not my intent. Of course, that was not my intent. But but as I'm talking to so many victims now who are opening the door to like, yeah, I was a victim, but there was several other people that were victims too that still haven't come forward in this situation. I'm like, oh my gosh, we need to shift the way that we need a cultural shift. We need to make sure that people understand that when you're being victimized, and especially by a leader, there needs to be a path where you can get help and not be afraid that you're going to not be believed. That's just has to change. Um, the other thing is on spiritual fathers, my story, I had three beautiful men in my life who changed my life forever. They were beautiful. And but the and these men had great character. The challenge is the same dynamic of having people mentor you that are broken or virtuous mentors. They can be dangerous, which we're finding. Like, I think that my experience of having three beautiful men in my life who who had great character and who loved me, um, I think there was an emphasis. I think our emphasis needs to be make sure that character matters a lot. And being mentored by someone who's broken has the opposite effect of the effect that those men had on my life. And interesting, I was thinking about Acts chapter 20, verse 29. Paul said, I know after my departure, savage wolves will come in among you, not sparing the flock. From among your own selves, men will arise, speaking perverse things, and draw away disciples after themselves. Be on alert, remembering that night and day for a period of 3 years, I did not cease to admonish you. Paul's talking to this church from Ephesus. He meets them in Miletus, and he's telling them, I'm not. I mean, his message is, I'm not going to visit you anymore. Like the Lord's showing me that. Um, I think he's talking about he knows he's going to die soon or something, but. And he says, when I depart, savage wolves will come in among you. But then he says, even among yourselves. And the warning is be alert. It's really Paul's like, there may be people among your own leadership that are not healthy. And I think that's a huge warning. And in Job 29, I was reading this 4 o'clock this morning. He talks about how he said, I delivered the poor who cried for help, and the orphan who had no helper. The blessing of the one ready to perish came upon me. I made the widow's heart sing. I put on righteousness and it clothed me, and my justice was like a robe and a turban. I was eyes to the blind and feet to the lame, a father to the needy, and I investigated the cases which I did not know, and I broke the jaws of the wicked and snatched them from the prey. The result of Job's investigation is breaking the jaws of the wicked. I think we have to investigate with vigilance from now on. I mean, I think it looks like this, like where there's smoke, there's fire, meaning this, maybe one person comes out or there's one complaint, but underneath that complaint, I'm finding that there's a lot of other people that are hurting. And sometimes it takes years, like in many cases, it takes years for one person to come out. And you think, oh, well, okay, well, maybe that was an isolated case, but what I'm finding as I call the victims is that they're not an isolated case. That there's where one person finally gets the courage to come out, and I'm talking about especially with leaders, there's often other people behind it. And I think that um, we need to get really good at learning how to investigate. It's not a great, uh, yeah, I don't think many pastors are investigators, but I think we have to get good at it. We have to realize that where there's smoke, there's fire, and there's probably a lot of other people who are hurt. Um, I didn't realize, you know, when the Lord spoke to me and said, no more cussing, and then he said, there's a righteous revolution and judgment starts with the house of God. December 20th, 2024, I preached that judgment begins with the house of God. I didn't really realize that we would be included in that uh, to any well, that's not true, but to this degree for sure. To this degree, as far as I knew, I don't think anybody stands on stage thinking, "Oh, you've done all these things wrong. I think I'll just proclaim judgment starts with the house of God." I think I did not understand. I thought that we had done a pretty good job, but we obviously have not. And, I preached that Sunday that John the Baptist movement was coming and he was making the crooked places straight and he was making the rough places smooth. And a result of that is he was turning the hearts of children back to the parents and that the disobedient to the attitude of the righteous. And I said in that message, specifically, I just looked over the notes. I said in that message that um, seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. And I said, the Lord said, you sought first the kingdom, but not my righteousness. I didn't have any idea that applied to us besides my no more cussing. I'm like, I'm good. I'm clean. I confess my sins. Okay, anybody else want to confess your sins? That's where I was at. But the truth is that it's there's blind spots in our lives. And I think that we have to, it's really easy to shoot the messenger right now. But I'm not sure that the messenger isn't anointed and that this isn't really good for us. We're going to be a much better family after this. We're going to be much wiser. Um, we're going to learn and we're going to grow. I said, this is my notes from 2 years ago. A whittling fork is in his hand. A whittling fork is the way that they separate the wheat from the chaff. As they take the whittling fork, they stick it in the wheat and the chaff. They throw it up in the air and they blow on it. The wind blows, I should say. They throw it up in the air when the wind blows, and the chaff is light and it floats away, and the wheat is heavy and it That's how they harvest. And I said in that message, the Lord is throwing up the wheat and the chaff, and he's blowing on it. I want this. And I said he's blowing the chaff out of our lives. And I just had no idea the wind would be that big or there would be that much chaff in our life. So here's our posture. You probably have seen it already. Um, we need to stay low. We need to listen. We need to learn. We need to be the student more than the teacher. Obviously, we're still going to teach what we know, but we need to posture ourselves as a student. I'm 71 years old. I've been in some sort of leadership for 50 years. I had my first business when I was 24, 26, something like that. But there's still a lot to learn. It's playing out on a big stage. It wouldn't have played out on a big stage if we would have processed this properly, if we would have taken action quicker, if we would have listened to the victims more readily, if we would have had a process for people to speak up that guaranteed they wouldn't be all the things we just talked about, punished or retribution or shamed, or if we would have stayed closer to the victim than the leader in these cases. If we would have done a better job of vetting who gets on our stage. If we would have signed someone that their job was to investigate instead of 5 different people that information was disconnected and where we didn't. I was going to say didn't take it seriously. We absolutely took every one of them seriously. We just didn't do a thorough job of investigating very well. Those are some of the things we're learning right now. Now, these are great confessions, in my opinion. Some of you that rightfully would ask, like, well, why are you confessing now? Because of all the pressure. I'm like, yeah, I think the pressure has revealed the cracks in our foundation. I think that if I would have seen this 5 years ago, I would have repented then. I know I would have. So I think it's life is a journey. This is what you can hold me accountable to. I will bring forth fruit of repentance. That's my word. I will do what it takes to grow and learn. I promise you. Will I make more mistakes? I don't know anybody that doesn't make mistakes. As I've said to you guys when you're in school, the idea is not to make the same ones over and over. And we are committed to making Bethel a safer place. Will Bethel ever be a perfect place? Please. I don't know if that's possible with humans, but we could be a much safer place, and we could be a place that can still restore leaders, but with the victims in mind, making sure that we are very clear that this person, and let me say it, I don't even know who we're talking about in the future, but that leaders who have leaders, just in the fact that they're leaders, are trusted by people who shouldn't be trusting them. And I think the Me Too movement kind of brought that out, that there was a lot of people abused. Most of those people weren't in the church, of course, but there was a lot of people who were abused by their bosses, by their leaders, by their famous people, and they didn't speak up because of all these things we just talked about. We should have learned from that. We obviously did not learn the lessons. Um, as we process some of these, some of you are asking questions about certain ones that we are just in the midst of doing investigation, and we've asked some people to step in and help us to make sure we get it right. Because one thing just one practical thing is we're not professional investigators, so that's a challenge. Um, we're getting some really good information about like how do you actually do an investigation? How do you we're not I don't mean this as an excuse. I mean it as a process, learning process. Like we are not police officers, we're not detectives, we're not these are things that we're not good at. And it's very, very obvious that we're not good at them at this point. And it's really important that uh, we get people that are. And then we have to work through how do we make sure that when we put someone on stage that as far as we know they have great character. How do we do that? That's a challenge ahead of us. We have to figure out a path. Um, and I think we need to do a good job. One of the things that's happened in the past is that we answered questions in a way that weren't accurate, but we didn't know they weren't accurate because we didn't have all the information. And under the pressure to try to make sure that everybody knew we were being transparent, we're like, this is what we knew, and this is what it, and then we find out like, you know, later that who are people that are behind the scenes investigating, like, no, this is the way that happened, and this is the date that happened, and you said this, and it was that, and it makes us look like we're lying. So I think we have to be really careful right now because well, first of all, because honesty and truth are the only way you rebuild trust is to make sure that you are trustworthy and that you're completely honest. When you're under scrutiny and you make statements about things and then you don't know the right dates and you don't know if there was some other people and you're like, you don't know there was other complaints like, what's come out with Ben. Like when I know we didn't know anything like that for last till a week ago. So before we run out on fire and, and answer all these questions, um, I think it's really important that we actually get all the facts and the information so we don't look like we're in some way trying to cover something up because we are first of all, I would say this, even though 1 + 1 is 2, and it looks like you guys spent time trying to cover things up, that was I don't even let me just listen for you students, especially. I don't cover my own sin up, so there's no way I would have covered Sean's up. That was not in my heart. But if I looked from the outside in, I could see that definitely definitely looks like what happened. But that was as far as I'm just talking motive right now. That was not my motive. And then there's the questions that I think that we are processing inside. For example, this is kind of bigger picture. What do I do with people like Sean's prophecies? What do I do with Sean's prophecies? Um, and we all know there's a lot more Sean's in the world. And as social media and AI become more and more accessible, right? You can look like you're Moses with your insights when actually you've been cheating. So, this problem that we had, when did this all happen? I don't know, whenever it happened, 10 years ago. I mean, this problem is for on the prophetic side. This is this is the beginning of a whole new era of people being able to cheat. And the temptation to, sound profound is even using ChatGPT to create your messages and sounding like you're some genius when you're preaching. All of this stuff this is the new world we live in. And so it's important, really important on our side for us to get this right. Like, how do we get this right? Um, the temptation to be famous, the temptation to be profound, temptation to be revelatory. Um, I don't know what, there's probably a lot of other temptations, but those things are big, and it's almost it's almost like the temptation, like the porn temptation, like you have any open door sexually in your heart. Man, porn's everywhere. When I was a kid, if you want to look at porn, you had to find some magazine someplace. Now you just like pick up your phone and click on something and it's right there. It's just and the same thing with being profound. You can sound profound in a second by chat GP in someone's name. And now the challenge is no one believes anybody. So how do we deal with prophecies that Sean and others, and probably many others, as we open this door over the next 20 years? I think that's the next process. I've been really just sitting with the Lord, like, Lord, um, what do you do with these prophetic words that people, we want people to actually believe in the word of the Lord. And at the same time, when you have fakes and phonies, I'll make a couple of comments. So that's kind of how I feel about all that. I want to tell you a couple other things specifically about Sean. Like, one of the challenges that I had Sean was a friend of ours when I was had a nervous breakdown. I think my nervous breakdown was in 2014. I was on the couch for 6 months. Sean called me several times. He was very encouraging. He was very compassionate at the time, and obviously that probably all weighs into, who knows, your mentality of he's, quote, a good guy. And then secondly, I had Sean in several private meetings where there was no way that anyone would know. Uh, he could have not possibly known who was in those meetings. And he gave incredible words of knowledge. Often knew someone's name, knew the name of their business, crazy stuff. So my other thing I'm processing, and I guess I'm just doing what I'm sort of famous for, externally processing with you, is when someone has a real gift, why do you even do that? Like, why do you even do that? And then how do you know what part was, the gifts and callings of God are irrevocable? How do you know what part was God, this gave me this, and Sean mined this from the social media? And we're using Sean right now, but this could be any of us, right? Any of us. Um, there's comments about Bob Hartley too, which as we do more investigation with Bob Hartley, will respond, because we haven't finished our investigation with him. But we were in Pennsylvania many years ago, Bill and I, and we were doing a leaders thing, or we were doing a thing at a conference I think it was in Pennsylvania. Yeah, it was in Pennsylvania. And Bob Hartley called and said to Bill, "Hey, where are you guys at?" And Bill's like, "Yeah, we're doing this conference." And Bob Hartley was like 2 hours from us. And Bill said, "Why don't you come have lunch with us?" This is like way early 2000, I think. And there was 10 leaders sitting at our table besides Bill and I. And Hartley came and sat down, looked at this guy, and he goes, "Oh, got a son. His name's Joshua, right?" Guy's like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Wow, last year God healed his brain." And the guy just burst out in tears. He's like, "Yeah, he had a brain tumor and had it operated on." And Bob said, "Yeah, that tumor's never coming back." Then he did that 9 more times in that meeting with every single leader besides Bill and I. So, these are very confusing things when somebody has a gift and they pollute and they have terrible character. These are things we have to navigate over the next years and learn and grow. We have to make sure that we don't get enamored with someone's gift and miss the fact that they are not good people. Um, yeah. Do you, Shane, you're still on here, aren't you?
Chris,
Yeah.
Chris, there's some,
Yeah.
questions
Go, Steve.
in the thread, and so
Oh, great.
I can speak to some of those things. And we we're in a place right now where, just in full transparency, there's certain areas where we can't trust ourselves, because that's why we're here. And so we are, uh, looking at bringing in a number of different leaders to come in, like specifically actually fly here and to come in to meet with us to give counsel. We're actively on the phone with leaders from even people that aren't, uh, you know, I would say in favor with us in the sense of, um, I'm personally in contact with Mike, um, and I've been, asking his thoughts on many of these things. This is not a quick fix for us. This is a culture that we have to change and address. And so for you guys to know, in moments like these of deep pain, um, our heart and our hope is that we can, to the best of our ability, help be a bridge to bring healing for those that have been affected. And so, as Kris said, we are actively trying to reach out to victims. The issue that we have is the effect is so great. Um, we don't even know who all the victims are at this point. We've had several things come in, not several, many things come in through our Safe Church portal, and that has been, and I'll speak a little bit of how that is currently set up and how those reports are being handled. Um, but we uh, the one thing that um, sorry, um, is we have a lot to change. We have a lot to change. We're not talking about a small issue. We're talking about a belief system and a mindset that has to adjust to be rightly in line with actually what the scriptures tell us. And it's not that we intentionally did anything to um, undermine the scriptures, but even in the culture of honor where we've put subconsciously the leader first, then the congregation, then the victim, we have it upside down. And so we need to flip things in our culture where the victims first, the flock and congregation are second, and then the leader is several layers down from that. Even, in the situation regarding Ben, uh, Armstrong, is we're in the place of relooking at that because once again, uh, our default has been that um, we haven't prioritized the health and restoration of the victim, and that is 100% changing, and will change. We also acknowledge that some of the pain has been so great that some of the victims don't even want to interact with us, and we completely understand that. But our heart is that to the best of our ability, and those that are willing to meet with us, we want to meet with them. We want to hear their story. And we want to hear how we can be an advocate to help bring healing in that situation. Um, we have increased our meeting frequency quite significantly with our senior team and with our board of elders. One of the reasons in something like this that we tend to be a little bit slower is us recognizing that we don't have the proper structure of accountability in our environment to the level that we need with the size of our organization. And so we are actively addressing that, but not off of our decisions. We actually are held accountable to our board of elders, and we can't trust ourselves fully with a healthy structure because it's our structure that got us here. And so um, our I just want to be clear, we're not talking about this is a 1 week, a 2 week, a 2 month deal. We're probably talking about a 12 to 18 month process of untangling things, redefining things, and reclarifying things. And we have had a number of reports come in that are new for us that we are looking into investigating, um, as well as so our Safe Church team, just to be clear, includes um, people within our organization from many different levels. So um, right now, we have a third party reporting system where reports are logged and housed within a third party system. That those reports are then made available to only two people in our organization. Those two people are our HR director, who has 20 years experience as a compliance officer and with investigation background, and her direct um, executive assistant that is working with her in that department. No senior leader, no leader can have access to those except for her. Um, Sorry, I'm making sure that my notes are correct from Angie directly because I don't want to say something that's misspoken. Okay. Um, um, there is a reality that certain things will need to be handled outside of our organization, and certain things that will need to be addressed in-house, and other situations that are addressed both out of house and in-house. Um, Depending on those situations is dependent on if there is a conflict of interest that is firmly established when in a situation. Uh, we need to be in a place of above reproach when it comes to actually investigating these things. Um, and so we are currently in the process right now of working with a couple of organizations to nail down which type of report requires a certain type of investigation. Um, we're also in a place of um, one of the recommendations from Mike with even places with victims is even reaching out to counseling organizations that are not associated with Bethel but are Christian organizations. Be Emboldened is one of those organizations that he has recommended, and we're looking at those. So I want to be clear is not everything is finalized, but everything is in track to be finalized. And things will be confirmed, and we will make those things public as they come. There's other individuals that during this process, there's been allegations that have come our way. And so we are looking into those, and we are investigating those, and we will be making statements as a house. And for us, we're understanding that our responsibility is very significant, and where our focus has been, um, our focus is our duty is and priority is actually to the body of Christ and to the flock first. It's actually our primary duty as leaders. And so that requires not just a belief shift, but also um, a culture shift and a structure shift. Um, so I would say this um, for current in the current process, if you submit any claims through our hotline and form that is logged within a third-party database, any form that is filled out is is sent to our HR director and a third party. So it is not just housed just with Bethel, just to be perfectly clear with that. Um, our our heart is um, we don't know what we don't know, and we have very obvious blind spots. And so this is where we're pulling on people that aren't just in our stream, someone called it, but even people outside of our streaming organization to get counsel, because it's important that we're not just taking things from our particular worldview. Um, and so um, the let me just try to get you for um, the
I can talk to one thing on here that I see people are asking some questions that
um,
someone asked if we'd reach out to Jubilee. I reached out to Jubilee through a couple of her friends several times. That's not true, a couple times, and so far there hasn't been a response, so we're reaching out to her again. Actually, every victim that we know of, we're probably knowing about more victims now, but we've been reaching out, taking turns, whoever's closest to the situation, calling. I've spent uh, some hours on the phone with several victims already. Actually, it's been really beautiful. Every victim I've reached back to has been really beautiful. One of them the other day, I had one of the first whistleblowers with the Sean situation. I had a half an hour conversation with, and he was so beautiful. We cried on the phone together. The next morning, he said, I wrote him back the next morning and said, man, that changed my life. He said, well, you changed my family. So that's just been really, really good, and for people to actually forgive when you have not protected them well. So that's been beautiful. That's, as
yeah,
Steve said, it's just a start. So we have a long ways to go.
yes, people are putting in there, Jesse. So people are asking, what is the third party where the forms and the calls are stored on? It's a company called Tech. They've been changing their names over the years. So I think originally, and the reason why I wasn't saying it is because they used to be called Lighthouse, and then over the past year they've rebranded, and so Tech is their current name. Now, this is where all the reports are held. So let me be clear, this is not the same party that will be bringing investigations based on the reports that are actually brought to that hotline, to that third party, and then also shared with our HR director. There'll be different third parties used to address certain situations depending on the specific situation. And so, as you said, we're gathering all that right now. So if you're hearing me, I'm not trying to be vague for vague's sake. I just want to be integrous in telling you that it's not a one situation fits all type situations. And we are learners in this process, not teachers. And so we are trying to nail down where we have leaders that do have experience with this that are going to
Yeah.
come in and help train our leadership teams. Um, so that is in the process, that is happening. Um, Obviously, that doesn't freeze us from beginning to look into things, and we're already actively pursuing uh, more internal um, investigation pertaining to a number of situations. And so, I've been doing my best to get on the calls with some victims. Mike has put me in contact with some other people as well. Um, and so that is, we are working through those, but right now, because of the initial launch, there is a great influx of things, many of them around similar issues. And so we are establishing a theme within there. And then something that I didn't clarify is on that Safe Church team which is in house. No one from that Safe Church team has access to the reports. Those reports are brought for internal situations to the Safe Church team, which has as a senior leadership representative, my wife, Ruth, from the senior leadership team, is on there. We have our HR director, we have deacons, we have board of elders, we have congregant members, and we have people on there that do have experience in this line of work. So it's not just our is once again, we are not experts in this at all. So we need to actually be in learning mode moving forward. And so um, uh, if that's helpful, that's where we are right now. Um, Obviously, we would love um, wisdom and insight. So even we have had people, even with the Safe Church, submitting of people, even submitting recommendations of experience that they've had even through that portal, and that's been very helpful, as well as submitting to our HR team as well. And so we are working through those, but we will be publicly talking about our findings, like as Kris said. And I will say we're also in conversations about cleaning up. How do we actually ensure that who we put on our platform needs to change? And so, we realize that our platform is significantly larger than just getting someone up in a small church. And so that comes with greater responsibility. And it also comes with greater conversations with people that do come, to let them know, hey, there's a level of responsibility and accountability that comes with you coming here. And so that is an adjustment for us as well, that is not that hasn't been our normal. And
Yeah.
so those things are shifting.
Yeah, well, there's a process for sure, and I think we're in the middle of it. And I think
Definitely.
the bottom line is, I think some of our core values have to change, and as they are, I think our processes will change, and we are learning for sure. And I think repentance requires us to think differently, and then it requires us to act differently. So I think that's part of what we're doing, and we're praying into it. This is, a lot of this is a new world to us. We're, as Steve pointed out, and we're all very aware that we are not professional investigators, probably. So we'll be getting better at that, and having outside people do some investigating too. Well, I just wanted to get on here and tell you guys I love you, and that we're I'm very, very sorry for all this has caused you guys. The stigma of being a BSSM student, as opposed to the beauty of it, is really hurt our alumni. The other thing I want to tell you is I another regret I have is not being on here soon enough. Should have talked to you a long time ago. And I think that, uh, as we investigate some of these things, the goal will be to be a much better movement, and be much safer, and righteousness. We'll seek first the kingdom and his righteousness. That's our goal. And thank you for giving us the opportunity to be forgiven, and prayerfully the opportunity to win back trust. I pray that we can win back your trust, and make you proud of us for how we respond to this kind of stuff. I don't know if there's anything else, Shane, you want to say?
There's a few questions, Kris. I realize we're tight on time, but there's a few
No, that's
questions
okay.
about some of the other people that are being investigated, or about the process with Lindsay. Do we have time to talk into that or not?
I think we should do some more investigation on Lindsay.
Okay.
She's not on our staff anymore. And I think before we make a bunch of comments about somebody that that's been years, the incidents happened so many years ago. And I'm finding that, as we have been investigating some of the dates and times and how things went down, like that's not how I remembered it. So, and I think that making statements about something that you haven't thought about or looked at for years, and then find out it's different later, it just creates a firestorm of, he said this on the alumni, and that's not how
Yeah.
it happened. I'm like,
Great.
Yeah, I've already done that a couple times and then been proven like, no, that was not the date that happened, or that's not how that went down. So I think, the things that we have looked at, like the Elijah Mitchell, Stevens thing, sorry, I keep calling him Mitchell. I knew someone named Mitchell, Elijah Mitchell, Elijah Stevens situation, Sean Bolt's, those things have been, we spent a lot of time looking at those. We haven't spent a lot of time looking at these other ones, so those are things we need to get to. And I think we're making a list of obviously the questions and making sure that we do our due diligence. So yes, so I'm aware of the let me just say this. I should say this, like Lindsay thing. I'm aware of that. Was involved in it many years ago. But how the outcomes, I'd just be amiss to say, yeah, this is how I remember it, and it turns out to not be like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah, I'm not,
more
let me say,
information.
I don't think memory is great, guys. I'm learning right now that a 71-year-old memory is actually not a great plan. It's why people write memoirs and then someone else goes, I was in that story and that's not how that was. And I remember Kathy wrote a book. She wrote a book and I wrote a book and she told some of the same stories and like, she's like, this is how that happened. And of course it wasn't about the facts itself, but how the story went down. And I'm like, no, that's not how that story happened. And she's like, yeah, that's how that story happened. So I think when we're talking about the integrity of issues like this, it's really important we get it right. Hey, I do want to tell you that just changing the subject real quick, my daughter was in a horse accident. We posted it, Kathy posted it online the other day, and she fell off a horse. She had a helmet on and she had a vest on that was a kind of vest that it blows up, kind of like a uh,
Life jacket.
huh?
Like a life jacket.
Like a life jacket, yeah. It blows up when yeah. It's more like your car's, what do you call it?
Airbags.
Airbags, yeah. And she fell off the horse at full speed. She got a concussion. She had a brain bleed. She lacerated her spleen. She broke two ribs, and so they airlifted her from Eureka to Reading. It was life support kind of a thing, life-threatening situation. And she's been in the hospital now 3 days. We expect her to be three more, but her brain bleed stopped. Her spleen bleed stopped, and she's out of danger. And she's obviously, I don't know if you've ever had broken ribs, but she's obviously still in a ton of pain, but she's doing much better, and they expect her to have full recovery. So some of you have been emailing me, texting me. Thank you so much for caring. And she's, I don't know, we're trying to figure out, is she going to get back up on that horse again or not? This is her second accident in 10 years. So for those of you that ride horses, I chat GP'd horse riding danger, and it was rated as one of the most dangerous sports that you can be a part of. So I already told Kathy there's going to be no more horseback riding at 67 years old and Parkinson's. That is it for us. No pony riding, no horseback riding. So drive a car. Um, Love you guys. Thank you so much for interacting. Oh, I'm sorry, Shane. Was there anything else that you wanted to try to answer? I'm glad to answer any of them that we did good investigation on.
Yeah, the only other question that I'm seeing really pop up is a question surrounding NDAs. People are saying, how can we feel safe or trust if there are NDAs and staff are restricted in being able to speak?
Yeah.
Essentially, that's the essence of it. My experience has been that there are none, but
No, I
I've
think
not.
yeah, I think before we say that, I don't think that's true that we have none. So I think we
I've
should.
never heard of it. That's so till a couple of days ago, I had never heard of it. So
I've never heard of NDAs in our and then as people were like saying, oh, I think there's employment stuff when somebody gets a large severance, then they sign an NDA or something. And that's probably an HR thing we need to talk through. Yeah, so before we make comments about NDAs and what they're for, um, there may be just a policy about NDAs on severance. I really don't know. I think we
okay,
should find out.
we'll get the information. So there's
Yeah.
a bunch of questions that you guys have asked about people and about situations. uh, I'm not trying to kick the can down the street. I'm asking for patience so that we can get accurate information. And I'm also needing to go, hey, there are lots of things going on right now that we're
Mhm.
actually having to address, like just normal life, like a daughter falling off a horse or other things taking place in families. So it's not as though we're dedicated full-time weeks to just getting and grappling with one thing. We're trying to do life. We're trying to keep the things going that are going. That's Don't mishear that. But we're trying to do all of the digging in and searching in the midst of trying to keep everything else going that we need to keep going. So be patient with us. That's not a request to for infinite standoffish. It's just a request for give us grace as we try to get honest, accurate information to come back to you. Kris,
Yeah, part of the Sean situation, of course, is, if you read the Just Stand book, it was, we're in COVID and Benny passing and my daughter going through a divorce and my wonderful Trump word and all of those things together. So, but those when I think of those right now, and I think about the when I think about the big mess that this is in, I think, you know, that doesn't excuse us. I
yeah,
don't want to do anything that makes us feel like, oh, we're a victim, feel sorry for us. Just letting you know the circumstances were, uh, quite compelling, and I still should have made sure that we did this well, and we didn't. So that's the way that is, and
Hey,
we'll be better.
Chris, real quick, because I have to go to another meeting. I jumped back on because somebody were asking about NDAs. So if you didn't know, I'm over all of the operational stuff internally at Bethel now. Thanks, Chris, for that. But Bethel Church does not have any NDAs. Now, Bethel Music, I'm actually not sure about, so I can connect with them to follow up. Bethel does not have NDAs. Even if someone has a severance agreement, they're free to talk about anything. I am not familiar with the NDAs on the Bethel music side. I will say that NDAs were discussed here because it's a common California practice with organizations that if anyone's terminated, if that's a common practice. It's not a common practice with us for our church. I don't know about that with Bethel Music, but on
Are
my
you
side,
are you positive, Steve? We've never done NDAs?
no. I've checked in with Angie. I've checked in with all of that. That is a we do not have an NDA.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure that we don't find out we did an NDA one time. But we've had, obviously 850 employees uh, at one time. So we've had thousands of employees over 27 years. So,
And so, just to clarify, Bethel Music is its own organization. So they're a part of us. They're a supporting organization, but they're our own organization. So we have multiple organizations. So I just want to clarify that Bethel Music is its own operationally run entity, but Bethel Church does not have that. So um, some of you are asking about uh, Carrie and Abby. I don't know about that situation. Um, I'm in relationship with Abby, so I can reach out to her.
I'm sorry, about who?
People are
Abby
asking
Stumble.
about some people saying that, so I don't know about that, but
Yeah. I think part of the challenge is that literally we've had thousands of employees over the years. So I think making sure that and frankly, this again is an excuse, but when you have thousands and thousands of employees over, the 27 years I've been here, and Bethel's a 75, is this our 70th year this year or next year? So, I mean, we have lots and lots and lots of employees, and there's been leadership here way before we got here. So we better, I just want us to make sure that we're not saying something that finds out later that sounds like we're lying. It's like so many people been involved. We've had, three HR leaders since I've been here 27 years. So just making sure that we don't say something and find out later, no, they lied. And that would not be our goal, to cover up anything or lie right now, right now, ever. Yes, there we go. Vallotton, come on. I think Shane, unless you want to stay on.
Yeah, Kris, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate all your time, and your openness and honesty. It's a it's a gift to us in this season. So thank you for that.
Thank you, guys. God bless you.
See
Bye
you,
now.
Kris. Guys, the original purpose of this call was to actually give you guys space to talk and just say how you're feeling and things like that. Kris reached out to me late last night, which is why the hey updates on Facebook and emails went out. So for those of you that didn't see that and thought, hang on, this is a different call, apology. It wasn't a bait and switch. There was a change. Uh, so I saw some of the questions in there about asking for Bill to join on a call. I can ask Bill. I can't speak for him and say that he will or won't do it. I know that it was planned months ago, a scheduled studio time with him for a couple of days. So he may be willing to turn that into a call. It would be a last minute pivot if that does happen. If it doesn't, bear with me. I'll continue to ask him, but we'll see what happens there. The information, we'll try and disseminate it as quickly as I get it. Now, again, I don't know what timelines look like in terms of me getting information, but as soon as I get it, I'll give it to you. I do want to say this. Thank you so much. I have a lot of room for confrontation and challenge, and I really appreciate the manner in which you guys went about asking your questions and challenging. I don't believe you can be a free person without the ability to challenge. So I welcome challenge. I welcome pushback, questions, and whatever else. I do ask that it be done incredibly well. You will see some more intentional moderation on the Facebook page. So, we do have the group guidelines. We do ask people to honor those guidelines, and you'll see us start to be more intentional with that. Some of you are like, why haven't you done it for the last couple of weeks? Because in the space where people are in shock and emotions are raw, I want to be extra gracious. And so I did leave a lot of extra room, and there were a lot of comments where it was like, whoop, I'm going to let that go. I did do a lot of private confronting of people when things got reported. Typically, we act on the reports of the community rather than just, well, I want to report something. It's not my page. So as the community reports things, we engage accordingly. So I just encourage you, stay on the page, stay engaged. On a completely different note, we actually have video calls every month. We have one in the morning and one in the afternoon every month. Normally it's Mark Brooks and I. I'm traveling to Australia next week, so I won't be on next week's call. It'll be Mark Brooks and Leslie Crandall. Look for the newsletter links. Look for the link on the Facebook page as well for those calls. If you're interested in being on those calls, they're highly interactive. It's not a preaching call or anything like that. They're highly interactive calls designed to try to further community and foster connection, et cetera, et cetera. So if you want to stay on the call and share some of your thoughts or whatever else, I'm more than willing to hear it. We're still recording. That's going to be my note taking rather than me sitting here. I want to be intentional about listening and giving attention rather than taking notes. So if you want to be on that and stick around, I welcome that for another 30 minutes. Otherwise, I'm just going to pray and I bless you. Father, I thank you for I thank you for the call. I thank you that we were able to wrestle and grapple and hear an update from both Kris and Steve. And I thank you for these men and God, even in the midst of so much challenge and so much difficulty. I thank you for their openness and their honesty to us. God, I ask that you would lead us independently, individually, lead us corporately, that health and righteousness might prevail. God, I ask that Bethel, that BSSM would be places that exude righteousness, pure hands, and a clean heart. God, for the alumni community, myself included, I ask that you would help us process. And guys, I'm not saying us to try and be polite. I need help in processing as well. So God, help us process, help us to ask the questions. God, we don't want to be shy or light in it. We want to be thorough and rigorous. Help us to process deeply. Help us to ask questions that even might be a little bit uncomfortable. God, I ask that we would be asking questions that would lead us into life, deep, healthy life in you. God, I ask that where there's a shakiness in regards to connection with you, that there would be strength, that there would be a resolute sense of I am planted in Him, and my hope is in Him. God, we love you. You remain trustworthy. You remain steadfast and solid. And I ask that our ability to tangibly experience that steadfastness and that sense of strength would increase day by day, now and always. Bless the alumni community, God, I pray. Jesus, in your name, amen. So I don't know how to just say, oh, there you go. Someone's put their hand up. I appreciate hands up. That's going to be the way we're going to do this. So is it good Lord, forgive me, Angelica? I'm confident I've said your name correctly. Can you
You
unmute?
did.
Oh,
You
bless the
did.
Lord.
Yes. Hi there. Thank you again for this time and just speaking and sharing your heart with all of us. My question is for like the Ben Armstrong accusations. I know that you guys are dealing with so many different things aside from all of this church stuff, but I was just wondering, are you guys going to be having a meeting with him? Still continuing to have him in the public eye? Like, I know that guilty until proven or innocent until proven guilty, but are you moving forward with at least some of the things that you've heard recently?
Absolutely, things are moving forward. What does moving forward mean? You mentioned Ben. Uh, I don't know the specifics. I'm not on the SLT, I'm not on the senior leadership team. That's not oh, that's me going, I don't know the specifics. I do know that they are talking with Ben. Uh, as Kris said, we weren't aware of the extra allegations. And so it's difficult to deal with things until you're made aware of things. So there were a bunch of comments. Even somebody mentioned, "Hey, stuff happened during mission trips." I'm sitting here reading those comments, going, I'm
Yeah.
clueless, completely clueless about it, and I don't have an answer because I've never heard of it. Um, what can I say with respect to Ben? I can say that it is being taken seriously. I can say that his family this is not trying to push off of it. I'm saying his family are having to re-dive back into everything. Um, Not a great answer.
So like,
I do not think that he will. I'll leave it there. It's conjecture for me to speak further at this point. I'm sorry.
yeah. So does that mean that there will be a meeting with him to just kind of sit down and even just ask his honest, I guess, side of the story, or just is there a meeting that is going to be had with him to talk about what's going on?
My understanding is that SLT have already, and he's part of SLT. So my
Okay.
understanding is they've already started having roundtable conversations.
Okay.
Your picture keeps on moving. There you go. And my understanding is that they will continue. And obviously, with new allegations, there will be more questions, more, hey, we need your help here, help us understand.
Okay.
And at the same time, people are reaching out to the young lady in South Africa, in particular. She's the only one that I'm aware of.
Hmm.
Are reaching out to her to go, hey, we want to know the story. Give us as much detail and information as you can, and we want to search this out.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. And then I guess for corporately, like, what are ways to also cover his family in this? Like, as far as like restraining from certain comments online and.
Yeah, I think asking for things to be searched out. I never want to water that down. I never want to slow that down or stop that. I think his daughters have both done school. I would be like, hey, let's be aware of the fact that they're also on the page. And I don't mean that to say, hey, don't put things up there. I'm saying, no, put things up there, but put things up there in a respectful
Yeah.
fashion. That is my heart and my request. It's been true for the last 5 years with the interactions on the Facebook page.
Yeah.
I'd love that to be owned across the board.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
No worries. I'm sorry. I do not have the ability to read comments and try to actually engage. I'm just not able to do that. I've never been able to do it. So if you're asking something in the questions, I can see all the chat going. I'm just assuming that's internal amongst yourselves because I don't have the capacity to do it.
Shane, I'll let Amy Hop ask her question next.
Great, thanks.
Amy, if you want to unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. First of all, I just want to say that I have been through my own 7-year journey of inner healing, and always so I just come humbly, understanding that we are cut from the same human nature cloth. So I come humbly. What my inner healing person would say, would always say to me, that's a symptom. What's underneath? There's something deeper. Okay, that's another symptom. Let's look what's underneath that. And so I think I would love to be assured that our leaders are going to the Lord and saying, because this is what I've had to do in my own process. Like, where have I partnered with the enemy that had me in this mindset or that mindset? And just to be assured that the leaders aren't just saying, let's have different systems to shore up weaknesses, for example, but like that the leaders are the leaders saying, like Jesus, like, where have I partnered with the enemy that I would hear about deviant sexual behavior and continue to almost have like a blind eye? Like, what am I in agreement with that I'm functioning out of that maybe I'm not even aware of? Jesus, like, will you show me this is a symptom, but what's deeper than that? And so I think I don't know if that makes sense as far as a clear question.
If I'm hearing correctly, you really want an assurance that we're not just trying to change structures, but we're actually grappling with this on a heart level.
Yes. Like what precipitated in the hearts of these leaders that they would be able to kind of be blind to this sexual deviant behavior? Because it wasn't just like, oh, he was attracted to someone outside of marriage, but like this was actually deviant, right? And that they would be able to not see that. Like, do you know what I'm asking? I'm not sure I'm making that clear.
I'm not sure I do. You're referencing Ben.
No.
Okay.
Actually, no, regarding Sean, for example.
Oh, sorry. Okay, great. Thanks. I'm just trying to go, hang on. What are you asking?
Like, I'm just wondering,
Yeah.
my heart is that we don't just address symptoms, but that we go like, what is the underlying way that maybe Bill or Kris or Dan or Danny or any one of us, how have any one of us partnered with the enemy at some kind of level that we're functioning out of it without even understanding what we're doing? Like, Jesus, show me where have I gone so far off that I would miss what I've missed.
Yeah, I think on some level, Kris pointed to the only calling out the gold meant that we were so fixed on essentially trying to be positive that and taking people forward that we weren't actually dealing with junk and stuff like that as well. I think, I mean, I'm saying you're asking the question, if I'm hearing it correctly, do I believe that our leaders are engaging on this in a deep manner? Yes, I do. I really do think they are walking out humility. That I think what really got them was they got a glimpse of the pain that's been caused. I think before that they were a little bit ignorant to the fact that people were hurting, and as a result of catching a glimpse of the pain, they've gone, oh no, and now they're asking some deep questions that should have been asked years ago. Not trying to pretend, not trying to sugarcoat, but I think that they are asking those questions and are grappling accordingly. Does that somewhat answer what you're asking, or am I still missing?
I think it does, but I feel like this is quite egregious. I feel like it's egregious what's happened, and just not to feign ignorance, because I don't mean it that way at all, but to like be so broken, like, God, we made this egregious error.
Yes.
And to be so broken that maybe there's like a month of sabbatical where they're just like going into deep inner healing.
I don't know what the specific plans are to try and go in and grapple with those things. I've been more involved with Kris and his process. I don't think he is lost to the significance and the severity. I didn't ask him to join today's call. Let me be clear. That might not mean anything to you. Okay. I didn't ask him to join the call. He contacted me last night and said, I heard you're having a call. I'm coming. When is it? I know he had meetings this morning. He, rightly so, cancelled, changed them because he's like, actually, I need to sit in front of you.
Thank you.
I'm hoping to, when I connect with Bill in 2 days' time, like I said, actually, I'll be connecting with him earlier to see if he'll go live, but I'm hoping that I'll get to hear more about how he's processing it and what that looks like too. I wish I could give you a better answer. I wish I could give you a really strong, yes, they are. I can't do that until I know.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Amy. Beck, do you have a list in order?
I'm just going across my screen. So Spring Pong, you're up next.
Gold.
I just want to say that I'm tremendously grateful for having you looking out for us, because it's definitely a really difficult job. You're shepherding, monitoring our chats and discussions of 17,000 students, alumni with different backgrounds, different history, different opinions. And you did a great job 2 years ago getting a letter from, senior leadership team on Sean's case, and you allow us to speak. And having said that, I mean, I just want to bless you with more favor with the Bethel leadership team and when everyone around, because like you're the one who makes our voices heard. And it's kind of like, in a way, it's kind of sad. I think one of the weakness that we have in our culture, and having been done 3 years of school and 2 years of volunteering, and this is my 11th year in the Bethel community as a local church member who had done a lot of volunteering and getting involved with the church and the movement. It is kind of sad that we don't have a method of running the flag up the flagpole. And I think that's the reason why that the only place that we have to voice our concerns was in the alumni Facebook page.
Yeah.
yeah, so you did a great job with like just making our voices heard with the senior leadership team. Without you, you know, we just don't know where this can take place, where we can, our pain can be heard.
I
Yeah.
really appreciate it. I sit here and I go, yeah, and could I have pushed harder last year? And in hindsight, I wish I had. I didn't know what I didn't know. So
Yeah, it's also like
I appreciate your encouragement. So
yes.
thank you.
Yes. And then my feedback to make this culture a little better is just that I've experienced points where I've seen RGPs who are not well trained in conflict resolution. And I even heard like one person, a friend of mine who I highly admire and respect in her character and her relationship with the Lord, she said that she had a conversation with RGP about correction, and the RGP goes, we are a ministry school and not a discipleship school. So just a little revelation of like, yeah, maybe a little bit of more modeling of conflict resolution, how to clean up our mess. We all know like it's okay, iron sharpens iron, we welcome that. And we welcome messes as long as we clean them up. And that hasn't been my experience in the culture. I had volunteered to look over like the Asia students, and that position takes a lot of effort and pulling the students together. And I have events where a student yelled at me, disagreed, and made me feel threatened when I see him. And I reached out to his mentor at the time. He's a third-year student. And the mentor actually, I was like, can I have like 10 minutes of your time? And I really want to restore this relationship. And I was 100% shut down and not believed in, even though like I did school with, she mentioned in the reply email that, I know you from, we're in the same year together, but I cannot side with you. So the students are 100% protected. Well, I kind of felt like as an alumni, it's like when you have your third year badge on, it's like all the students respect you. And once you have like your badge off, and even though I was volunteering, like students treat me like I don't exist, So, and I have like gone through another scenario where a pastor friend of mine from China sent one of their staff here who hardly speaks English, and they asked me to look out for her. In her first year, she was taken advantage financially by one of her RG people. And when she rented out a portion of her garage where it's not even fitted to be rented out for like $600 a month, and charged her $15 per each ride, taking her to school. Yeah. And when she wanted to get herself out of that situation, this student kind of blackmailed her among her RG people, so make her feel really uncomfortable. Yeah. And I coach her through the procedures of like writing an email, specifically addressing certain types of things that is concerning in developing a revivalist among school. And to her intern is like, I am so sorry this happened to you, but did not address anything. And then I said, okay, now you can write to your RGP. And the RGP is like, they don't deal with things like that. So yeah, even like this, I'm just mentioning events that it caused pain and it's addressed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even like, students who's not getting their rent deposit back from a local church person who rented out. There's no way for people to reach out to alleviate these situations that cause so much pain. And, even like I knowingly know a man who's a predator in our church and who has like married 20 people from other churches. I had to struggle to report this man. I mean, he ruined my friend's life, married her, and divorced her within a year and tried to get himself have couples in the church to recommend him connect him with other single women. I struggle so much to like expose this guy because like I be called a gossiper and like not, saying bad things behind people's backs, even though I have so much evidence. So finally I spoke up and to security and well, he was volunteering as an usher. And then turned out to be like, oh, we know this guy. Like he's like being a usher, letting people into the conference who does not have a ticket. And then security is like, oh yeah, we know this guy. So like it, but the thing is like, it took me such a long time to have courage and only speaking to friends who know my character, who knows me and want that this man is in the room. So this is like, what's going on in the culture right now. Just want to make aware of.
Yeah, we definitely have a lot of room for improvement and a lot of room for work. That's for sure. Thanks, Spring. I appreciate your comments. Beck, who do you have up next?
Hazel Parker.
Hazel?
Hi. I'm sorry, I've just come in on the end of this, so I didn't actually hear any of it, but I've read a lot of the statements online, and I haven't seen the Sunday service, but I've read some of it. And, my experience with Bethel was fantastic and life-changing. So, so my question is that why wasn't at the very first question raised about Sean Bowles or anybody, why wasn't he withdrawn from ministry? Why did it seem to go on for years and years? I love the calling out the gold and the culture of honor and all of that, but it has to be balanced with protect the weak and all this kind of stuff, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Really?
It's a very fair criticism. Absolutely. I don't have a great answer for why. I think Bill and Kris have tried to give some of their thoughts. Does it make it easy for me? No. Am I asking?
I think it's obviously fair and right to want everybody to move on or whatever.
I'm not asking people to move on. I want people to dive in deep here. I want people to thoroughly do the work. If we don't do the work now, all right, the actual hard grappling work, what strings will the festering pain pull in our tomorrow? We have to give ourselves time and space, independently and corporately, to actually do this rigorously. Otherwise, I get really scared about what tomorrow looks like.
Yeah. And what is the contradiction for me is that my time at Bethel was such a healing time and refreshing time for me. So obviously, the passion and desire is for wholeness, but it mustn't be at the expense of the safety of the
100%
of the.
I think that's something that we are well aware of now. And hopefully we do an impeccable job going forward.
Yeah, I absolutely believe you will, and I think it's very, very courageous to come out with it. But it's like the the top of an iceberg, isn't it? Tip of an iceberg. But I do my passion, desire, and prayer is that this is like the people, the victims are supported as much as possible, and that immediately the structures are in place so that it doesn't happen again.
Yeah,
and so it's accountability of leadership as well as as well as safeguarding procedures.
Yeah. I am aware that the checks and balances are being put into place. Exactly what they look like, I'm not aware of right now. I am aware they are being put into place, and I am confident that they're doing it, at least from a heart posture, rigorously and doing it to the best of their ability.
Yeah.
I don't
And
want
it
to say
is
time will
very,
tell.
very brave to open up. And I think that the people being able to share like this is very important, because people need to be able to just to try and understand it and understand, what is happening going forward.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Hey, just as a comment, everyone's screen is different in terms of the way the videos are all organized, and that keeps on changing every time people get off the call or put their hand up or whatever else. Beck, I have no idea what your screen looks like. Who's next?
Jesse's next.
Great. What's up, bro?
Hey man, thanks for doing this. Appreciate you guys. I know it's been a tumultuous time for everyone, so just want to say thank you for all that you guys are going through. And I know it's a lot, so I know I'm a open critic in many ways, but I still have a huge heart for everyone here, and just everyone know that with just putting that out there.
Yeah.
And I appreciate
for
your heart
those
on
of
that.
you that, sorry, Jesse, keep going,
You're
bro.
good.
Okay, for those of you that don't know, Jesse and I have talked, I want to say a couple of times, but maybe lots of those were actual messages, and we've talked on the phone as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
While we see some things differently, I'm incredibly thankful for him, and I sincerely trust his heart to bring out good things. So yeah, take that for what you want. You might not like his approach at times.
Yeah.
I might not like his approach at times. And at the same time, I don't know that we would be where we are without Jesse and some of the other people who we might want to label as agitators.
Hey, man, I appreciate that.
So
Really do.
thank you, Jesse.
Thank you. That means a lot. I really do appreciate that. So my question's kind of threefold. I don't want to take too much time, but I'm just going to try to condense as much as I can. I know you can't answer all these questions, so just, I love you and I'm sorry. Let's put that out there.
Good.
With the whole Sarah situation with Ben, and I was there. That was my first year class. I was there, and like I was part of that whole. It was heartbreaking. And it kind of goes all together. Do you have any idea if Sarah was ever really considered when it comes to re-platforming Ben? Because I've seen some of the videos, I've read the Unpunishable book and stuff, but it seems like in those conversations, like Ben was saying, like, yeah, I talked to hundreds of people and no one was really upset. And it's like, well, was Sarah ever talked to? Do you have any idea if Sarah was ever brought into that discussion as far as re-platforming Ben at Bethel?
As far as re-platforming Ben, no, I don't. I was in Ben's revival group, so it was 6 weeks into school.
Oh yeah, we were same class. I forgot about that.
Yeah, when it all went down.
Yeah.
I remember having several meetings as a revival group with Ben. I remember having several meetings as a revival group with Sarah. Sarah's process was largely guarded. We were told what the plan was, but we weren't given updates. And I've pondered that over the last 2 weeks, really. And at the time, for those of you that don't know, pastored in Baptist churches back in Australia. That's my background. So I had seen one of two things happened historically. I had seen either pastors just get flogged and thrown under a bus, or I'd seen people come in, denominations come in and flog the congregation. I was never satisfied with either of those approaches. So I must admit, as I watched what I saw take place with the information that I had at hand, which was Ben, Sarah, no other persons, I thought that the process was done really well. I know Sarah was offered support. I know that the plan was communicated. I remember Benny being a large part of that plan. I remember being told that we could get more information. And at the
Yeah.
time I was like, why, personally, why does
Yeah.
Shane need more information?
Oh yeah, I was the same way in the midst of all that too. Like I'm
Mm.
right there with you. Well, and not, I don't want to take too long, but that helps. And that makes sense. I would just say my feedback moving forward would just say in these situations with victims
Yeah.
to, before we replatform people, probably consider the people who've been abused.
Yeah.
And I think that should be addressed with Ben currently
Yeah.
in some ways. The other thing, like I said, I'm trying to make it really tight. Just moving forward, I know people have commented it would be really good for Bethel to not label it an affair, that it was clergy abuse. I think that's really inconsiderate in some ways, and I think moving forward it'd be really good for you guys to use that language.
Yep.
I think it softens what happened and kind of gives Ben a little bit of an out. Not I'm not saying you're trying to do that, but
I don't hear you. I don't hear you saying that.
Yeah.
Until it was posted the other day, I
Yeah.
had not considered it differently. Now that's on me. I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
hadn't.
Yeah.
Um,
And I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
And
Yeah.
that's oh crap! I just had never spent long enough trying to.
It's a whole
hop into those
vernacular.
shoes.
It's a whole language. And then
Mhm.
last question, and I really appreciate it. It's with all their stuff moving forward. Like there's been other leaders that have been re-platformed through Bethel and re-promoted through Bethel, and of course the Bob Hartleys. Then we have the Todd Bentleys, who had he actually had
Yep.
a sexual
Yep.
abuse affair. All this stuff is like.
Yeah.
There's kind of a laundry list. And I guess my question is there any plan for Bethel moving forward to address, and I know it seems like retroactive, like you're trying to take skeletons out of the closet, but the reality is these are all other leaders that have also given tons of prophetic words and ton of,
Right.
vision casting, life casting words to people that Bethel endorsed. Is there going to be any plan moving forward to address these kind of situations with the other leaders?
Great. I appreciate the question. It's actually helpful to be able to share that on here. So what I can say is that each person that has on different through different channels, be it either email, call, text, or through the Facebook channel, people have been coming to me going, "Hey, I'm concerned about this person." Each of the people that have been brought to me as I'm concerned about, I have then taken that to SLT.
Yeah.
What I've been told is that we are going to go and look at those.
Yeah.
Timeline, no idea. What I can say is the list is getting longer.
Yeah.
And part of the concern is how do we do this without becoming a police force, and how do we yet how do we do it so that we're honoring our community
Right.
and the
Right.
ones that have come to us. So
Yeah.
they're grappling with it. My
I
sense
could-
is that they are
Yeah.
going to actually investigate each of them.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that they will also release findings.
Yeah, if I could add, I'm not asking for a witch hunt on like
No.
suspicions and stuff. I'm talking about clear
Yeah.
cases, like
Yeah. No,
like the Todd Bentleys.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that'd be a huge win for Bethel to be like, by the way, we restored this guy after he did. We had everyone on the stage with giant staff giving him apostolic decrees and stuff. Maybe we should actually, like, those are the things. Like I know there's a lot
Acknowledge
of
that.
process. Yeah, like
Yeah.
there's plenty of other leaders that are clearly, like even Mike Bickles and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
let's make clear declarations of like, we do not recommend these people. And it's a great, and Todd White, even Todd White's another good one too. Like there's so many that'd
Yeah.
be great for Bethel. And I don't think you have to be like the charismatic police. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that, but there's definitely clear people that you guys have platformed and as a house have promoted that we should maybe start with that list and then work from there. But I don't know. I know it's not your job in particular, but I appreciate you taking the notes, taking the time for all of it. And I just appreciate
it's
you a lot.
great.
Thank you.
You're right. Thanks, Jesse. Beck, who's up next?
Annalise Gilbert, you go for it.
Annalisa?
Annalise, sorry.
Well, I just super appreciate the time that you guys are doing to open this up. My biggest question and concern, just watching things play out, is like on Sunday, the last Sunday, Dan, and even on this call, it was repeated that, the posture is that, we're not going to rush this, we're going to listen and learn, but there seems to be a bit of discrepancy between that and how, like, the alumni page, it seems to, at least in my experience with the page, there's a lot of alumni that are attacking other alumni for raising concerns, for essentially not rushing past the process. So how is leadership going to encourage, like, I guess, the greater community of, hey, we're not rushing past this?
Yep, it's a great question. I wish I had a beautiful, polished answer to give you. Um, uh, I guess what I can let me start by acknowledging part of the difficulty. Part of the difficulty is that we're asking every person to engage with this, and people will engage with it to varying degrees. For some, this is for a whole host of reasons. For some, they don't want to touch it. Some are like, no, this my house of cards. My whole faith structure is in question right now. For others, it's deeply traumatic because as the first question, I think it was Amy, said, she's coming out of her own abuse. So I think we have to recognize people are all at different places. Somebody posted something the other week. I know I'm going in a bit of a roundabout. I hope I get there. Somebody posted something the other week, which I thought was really worth taking time to read. I wanted to post it, to pin it. I don't know if I actually did in the end, but it talked about how different theological or doctrinal positions actually, in some part, inform how we see things and understand things. I thought that was actually really enlightening and really helpful. And I thought that from the case of sitting there going, oh, why am I looking at it this way? And what are the ways that I need to look and try to understand how other people are approaching things? So I wasn't looking at it going, you all need to understand. I was looking at it going, crap, I need to understand. And I've always thought that was a strength of mine. But hey, here I am. So in part, I'm asking on the Facebook page, 5,000 odd people to recognize their own lenses, to recognize their own postures, to be able to hear and engage, and hopefully in a healthy and beautiful fashion. It's easier said than done. I would like to say that we can do it and do it well. I mentioned that the moderation is going to step up a little bit. Not for anyone who hears censorship. When I say moderation, please hear me again. Moderation is asking people to adhere to the group rules. In the 5 years I've been in this role, the amount of posts I've taken down are very few and far between. I've left so many things on the table, even things that I didn't think were said or done well. And what I'm trying to say is I'm not opposed to, and I'm not trying to shut things down. I think we need to have the conversations and we need to do them well. I guess what would be helpful would be even the comment that I made to Jesse. That's kind of a comment going, hey, like, no. Trust, like, at least give him benefit of the doubt that his heart is clean as he raises things. Hey, as this person raises things, at least give them benefit of the doubt. At the same time, we also need to give space to, well, are people allowed to challenge things? And again, I don't know how we say people are free if they can't challenge things. Now, again, the challenge needs to be done in a loving way, in an honest way, etc., etc., etc. I don't know how I can enforce it without coming across as draconian or authoritarian, and I don't want to be either of them. What I want to try to do is lead and steer and guide the community, but I don't necessarily want to do that I'm not going to do it with a whip. That's not my style, and I'm not going to try to control people into it. I'm going to try to lead people into it. I don't know that's the best I've got for you. I don't know that it's going to satisfy, but it's the best I got. I'm sorry.
No, I appreciate it.
Claire, I'm going to unmute you. Apparently I can't. There you go. Go
Thank
for it.
you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Shane, and everyone who's here today. I just want to kind of piggyback on the last question about or statement that we heard on Sunday about senior leaders learning and listening and leaning in. And while I appreciate Kris's presence, he spoke for an hour and a half at us, and we heard a lot of what he already shared, and he didn't hear us. So I don't know if I don't feel very confident, Shane, that from me to you to him, there is a direct line of communication. I don't feel particularly psychologically safe in the alumni page, on the alumni page, and you already know that because I've sent you many emails about that, which have gone unanswered. And there was a separate email page that was a separate alumni group just to help people be able to process hard things that are now coming out that were true. So I feel that, well, it was nice to hear from the stage that Dan fairly recognized that the alumni had something to do with part of this process and bringing things up. I have not heard that from any accountability on who manages the alumni page, which you are the primary admin. Personally, as a female, as a woman, I had to reach out to Sue Manwaring because I was getting harassed by multiple men. And if we're talking about changing culture, and that is the product of a cult, that is, we have multiple men that are alumni that are harassing women in the alumni page. I think we probably should take a deeper look at that and provide safeguards around psychological safety. And it might not be sexual harassment, it could be verbal harassment or whatever in disagreement. But you moderating the page, it just, to me, from an outsider's perspective, it seems like you don't actually have the capacity to do that because you have too much on your plate, you have, or other things going on. And the entire admin structure of Bethel probably is getting a big shakeup right now, which I'm assuming is a good, which I think is going to be a good thing. So I wanted to express concern around that more than a question. And I know other people have come to me personally because they don't feel comfortable even reporting into this new system. So back to the process that we're being told to report into the system that you all mentioned today. There are a lot of women, I'll just say from my personal perspective, that have approached me that don't feel comfortable doing that. So you're not going to hear from them unless you hear from them on a third party platform like a YouTube or a Mike Winger. And some of these stories have already gone far and above anything that Bethel internally can control at this point. I am deeply concerned that the tidal wave that's coming towards you is nothing that you can handle. So I just wanted to say that I worked as a victim advocate in multiple capacities for years. I worked in crisis communications. I see the writing on the wall here. There is not the internal education, the spiritual acuity when we're talking about platforming people and then requiring other people, first year students, some of them, most come from directly from high school, to have the spiritual discernment to understand if someone like Sean Bowles or, God forbid, Kenneth Copeland gets on stage, that they have the discernment to know whether that person is true or false. Speaking of their life is a fairy tale, in my opinion. And I went to school when I was 30 years old and still struggled with that. So from the top down, this is a big web that needs to be untangled. And I'm disheartened by the fact that we had a senior leader here talk at us for an hour and a half and then leave. And I think a lot of us are dealing with a level of Stockholm syndrome, which if you don't know what that is, please Google it, where you are still giving people who are above you favor and veneration, like we were all taught. A senior leader walks in the room, stand up and clap for them. And so you don't listen to them. You don't listen to their words. They're allowed to get away with much more than a normal person. And Stockholm Syndrome looks like the inability to actually respond effectively and address abuse when it's happening to you. So you're apologizing for the abuser. I covered up for years for the things that happened to me during my time in Reading, and I can't do it anymore. So I think that's what you're seeing right now, and the Band-Aid is just getting ripped off. So I'm disheartened. I am disheartened by that, Shane. I don't think you have the team that you need. I don't think you have the time. And I don't think the senior leadership team also doesn't have the time, apparently. If Kris couldn't sit here and wait and listen to students actually talking to him versus just asking questions, because that takes another level of emotional capacity. So I think that there does need to be regular calls. I think you mentioned that before, but that's what I would say for now. And I hope that the alumni page that you're going to be moderating more effectively, you also can get help with understanding how to do that, because it's been a mess. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
I appreciate your comments. There was a lot in there. For not responding to former emails categorically, I'm sorry. I hate it when I don't get a response to either text messages or emails. So I'm sorry. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think my team and I are not adequately set up or positioned. I mean, there's two of us, and if you look at our roles, we essentially don't even make one full-time role for the alumni community of something. It's more than 20,000 alumni. That is, so from the outset, I've never seen myself in a position of trying to pastorally care for or be able to walk people through things, generally speaking, because good Lord. So yeah, I all that to say, I think you're right. That's something that we're going to have to advocate for and be loud about. I think the comment about Kris coming in and talking and not listening, I mean, how can I say anything other than, yeah, I see that perspective. I really do. You know, I'm sorry again. I can say we will do better, and I hope we will do better. I'm confident we will do better. I really am. Gosh, that sounded so weird. I'm confident. I am confident, but I also have trepidation in saying that, because I'm like, gosh, how much better? And how long will it take before it's awesome? I don't know. Bex.
Hey, Sarah, you're up.
Hi, sorry, I was driving. Had to pull over. Thanks. Hi. I've been, just kind of watching and listening, and I'm trying to process it. I feel just the fear of the Lord around it, and just feel like, for the last 15 years after leaving BSSM, like while I was there, I feel like the messaging I got was like, having gone to this school and having been involved will kind of you'll have favor certain places that you might not have otherwise had, and like kind of this responsibility to carry that well. And my experience has been totally the opposite. Like I've had to I've lost a lot of relationships and a lot of people. We now lead a church, and a lot of people have left our church, and just play for whole, like trying to promote and advocate for, like, not Bethel specifically, but for the values that we've come to believe and kind of build our lives and our ministries around. And so now in this moment, I'm finding myself, not really sure how to, I don't know, like I've spent a lot of years, not defending even like super vocally, but just trying to be, have a strong identity and carry the culture in me and in what I do and how I live and serve and lead and all those ways. So I think now in this moment, feeling a little just lost at sea, trying to figure out how do I now, I don't know, I would love just any thoughts to that end. I don't think I have a really clear question, but just feeling a little bit lost, trying to figure out how to process. And, as I think a lot of people who did go to school are now leading in some capacity. And so now I'm leading people who are, scared and who are, seeing that we have Bethel's books in our bookstore and, things like that, or we haven't, like trying to process all those things. And so as a leader too, like if I'm trying to go low and be humble, but also not throw the baby out with the bathwater, how would you advise a leader, a pastor and I also feel like there's also a very real witch hunt for leaders right now. Like I can't get away from that. And I don't think you really know the weight of a senior leadership position until you're in one. And so I just have so much like compassion too for just like the way, and I can't even imagine when that's magnified times however many times it's magnified for Bethel's leadership. So I think I'm not quite sure how to wade through all that. And maybe it is just a wading through. Just any thoughts you have to kind of help process.
Great. So, another disclaimer. You might not like what I have to say. I feel zero need to defend Bethel. I think Bethel needs to be held accountable for any wrongs. I do feel a strong desire to defend the bride of Christ. That's always been my heart. I get concerned that the baby will get thrown out with the bathwater, so to speak, to use your phrase. But I'm not scared about putting things on and going, actually, we need to have some real honest, hard looks, and we need to dive in and deal with things. How do I navigate this? Well, how much of my faith and my confidence was in a logo starting with a B? Hopefully not much. How much of my faith and my beliefs are in a man whose name starts with B? Hopefully not much. What am I trying to get at? It's always been Jesus. It's always been like get to know God. So like the more we position ourselves here and are well acquainted here, are biblically literate, we're going to have differences of opinion, but biblically literate and able to understand, give an account for the hope for what we believe. I'm like, yes. I don't want to quote yesterday's sermon or last month's sermon or somebody else. I want to go, no, Luke 16 says, and that's what I'm standing on. Now, can my understanding get changed? Yes, and God, please continue to grow it. But that's where I'm like, that's the only place that I can point you to stand. It's the only place I would want to point you to stand. Do I have trust and confidence in Bill and Kris? I do. But I ain't ever going to come close to my confidence and trust in the Lord. And if Bill and Kris, if something else came out and there was other grievous things that came out, I'd be shocked, I'd be disappointed, I'd be frustrated. I'd go, man, I gave a lot of years of my life to helping here. Would I call it a waste? No, because I'm not here for Bill. I'm not here for Kris. Some of you will know this, not many of you. I've asked God on numerous occasions for an exit door. And I'm not asking for like pity or empathy. I'm here because I am convinced that he still wants me here. And there are days where I'm like, okay, I'm hopeful about what that means. And there are other days where I'm like, this is just a sucker lemon day. Put your big boy pants on, Shane, and pick up your cross like he asked you to. I don't subscribe to this idea that he owes me some rosy picture of life. Actually, I died. I gave my life to him. I said, "Be my Lord." Gold. I'm not sure what that was. I think I've rambled enough in trying to go, hey, that's the only footing that I'm willing to advocate for.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
No worries. Beck.
Rachel Farnsworth, you're up.
Thank you. This is going to kind of piggyback on what Jesse was saying earlier. But I have a question regarding when leadership chose to pull Sean's products from their website and no longer invite him to be a part of ministry. Why, and maybe I missed this, but I have a question as to why the alumni were not informed of that. Because if they were taking the position that I understand why they're saying they didn't want to publicly say anything, but at least why not let the alumni know that they no longer put their trust in that? Because
I think that's the big question most people are asking.
I'm coming from the position where I was at Bethel when the Jason Westerfield incidents happened.
Yeah.
And so they stood from the stage and told us, hey, this is what's going on. This is someone that we had previously trusted. We no longer do. We suggest that you don't. Yeah. We are keeping the door open to restore the relationship, but as of right now, he's not wanting to. And so because that had been the precedent, my understanding with what was going on with Sean is that I had expected that from them.
Yeah.
I was living in Los Angeles at the time. He was obviously very present in Los Angeles. Obviously, it's on me and the Lord to be able to go, okay, why didn't I see something earlier? Why didn't I trust my gut on X, Y, and Z? Anyway, but I do have questions as to why that didn't happen, even within the family. And are there other things, other people that they have done the same thing with that we don't know, that they no longer have their support?
Yeah. Lots of questions. Thank you.
Yeah.
If I miss one, just interject and ask it again. There's no good answer to the why it wasn't said, and I think that's I think that is in part. It's definitely one of the biggest grievances I heard 2 weeks ago. Was what? Why weren't we told? It's a great question. I don't have a good answer for you. That's where the idea of cover up came in. I've had a very short conversation with Kris about this. He's like, I would never have been able to use the word cover up because from my perspective, I went and I spoke and I shared. I do see the perspective of alumni going, it feels like cover up. It seems like cover up because he gets to remain and we don't know. And again, that's where that document I referenced earlier that was posted, I found super helpful because I had to sit there and go, why do I not think that it was a cover up? And as I had a couple of conversations and read that article, I when I can really see and understand and appreciate how people are calling it cover up. So I don't have a good answer for you as to why. I think we screwed up, and I think a lot of people are shaken in terms of trust and confidence as a result. And I think that's a fair criticism. I'm trying to remember your next questions. I'm sorry.
No, it was just more along the lines of, are there any other people in ministry that they have since lost trust with? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
Look,
there's only so much that you can be in communication with on Facebook. Honestly, I'm not on Facebook, like
No, you're
hardly
great.
ever.
No, look, only a quarter of the alumni community are on Facebook. So, yeah, most of the, I digress ever so slightly. Most of the Brazilian students that come through school, apparently Facebook isn't utilized in Brazil. So they're all like, can you get on a WhatsApp group? And I'm like, heck no. So I'm just not having thousands of people text anyway. Sorry, I'm having a little comic relief with myself here. Crap, I've forgotten your question already. I'm getting
Are
tired.
there any other
Yeah, look,
ministries?
I think we alluded to some earlier. I asked Kris, hey, is there any news about Lindsay? There's the question about Ben. Are there other people that are being platformed and we've quietly removed our favor, or whatever language you'd want to put to it? I'm not aware of any. But you could say, hey, I'm not aware of any.
Okay.
Gosh, if something comes out tomorrow, I'm going to be the person standing here going, or sitting in this sentence, and going, man, I'm so sorry. I have integrity in my heart. It was an honest comment, and I'm sorry if something else comes out.
I understand. I completely appreciate the fact that you're doing this. You're sitting with us. You're the one who's taking our heat right now. And actually,
you guys are great. I'm not feeling heat.
I'm, I wasn't even viewing it in the sense of being a cover up. It's just more being in a position of ignorance, and wanting to make sure that I don't have that ignorance anymore in regards to anybody else.
Who else's books am I buying, or who am I sending money to? Oh, yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
Even if you don't know, I don't know, is there any way that could be found out or invested? I don't want to use the word investigated, but if that could be found and then maybe sent in an email in the next update or something like that.
Yeah. Yes, it can. Do I think it'll make it into the next email? Probably not. We send 2 a month. If you don't get our emails, guys, I strongly recommend you sign up for our emails. I actually think they're pretty good. And let me be clear, that's all on my team. My team do a great job. But I think they're pretty solid emails. Anyway, the way to get on that would be to send bssm.alumni@bethel.com an email and say, I want to get on the email list. I don't think we'll get it in the next one. I don't think we'll get it in the next month, to be honest. I will make a note and I will ask that question of SLT, and I will bring a response into the newsletter and the Facebook page, because there's a solid separation. Like, some people are like, I don't want a newsletter, and some people are like, I don't want Facebook. So I will commit to hitting both.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
No worries.
Rachel Milano, my apologies if I mispronounced your name.
No, that was great. Thanks. Thanks, Shane. I really appreciate everything you're doing, sitting on this call and taking all our questions as well. Yeah, I just had a couple of things, and I'll try to, well, I will just keep it really brief because I know everyone's like tired. This is a long call, but so one situation was a friend of mine who worked on staff for 10 years, Amelia, I won't say her surname, but her issue was actually kind of caused by the HR person. I don't know if it was the same HR person who is there now, but she really is too scared to go through the safe church process. So if you could pass that on, that if somebody could reach out to her, I think that would be amazing. And yeah, that I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. I actually had contacted her. I thought that she was, I don't see the list. I don't know who has submitted it, a form. And in my interactions with her, I had thought that she had said she was going to, but I'm absolutely more than happy to connect back with her and see where she's at, or if what I can help do there.
I think the other thing that she was particularly concerned about was the person who she worked for that was over her.
Yeah.
The kind of, yeah.
Yeah,
So
not involved at all. However, I totally understand that concern.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Jesse, I did manage to actually see that comment. A minor miracle just occurred. I don't think that, let me say it this way. I think the idea of the reporting being completely removed and the investigation being completely removed it has a lot of credibility. I know there are some obstacles to that being put in place. But I'm like, yeah, I would really like to see that implemented. I will be advocating for it. Pleased to see I'm seeing another comment that you are talking to Steve about it. I'm pleased to hear that. So
awesome. The other, so I just had two other things. So one was
sorry, go for it.
One of the things that, so I have a close relationship with Kris. So I've been talking to him kind of personally throughout the whole couple of weeks. I think one of the things I've been trying to get him to see, and I don't know if necessarily the SLT as a group sees this, I don't know, is the understanding around power dynamics.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to say, like, if you can push that up the chain of like, we need to have a conversation about power dynamics and maybe like understand and get some teaching on power dynamics, because I actually think a lot of the stuff that has happened maybe wouldn't have happened if power dynamics weren't in play. So that's something I was wondering if you guys if you're talking about that at all.
I'm not aware of any conversation that has transpired in regards to that. Do I think you have a lot of merit in that? Absolutely. If you have good resources to that end, I welcome them. If you can send them through to the alumni page, the email address that I mentioned earlier, or direct message me. SLT are getting sick of me forwarding stuff, but such is life. If this is my role, this is my role. Let's go. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, and I think, like from my own conversations with Kris, he is really massively on a journey of like learning a lot of stuff about everything that's happening. And he's in my interactions with him, he's been super humble and super like, I want to learn about stuff and I want to, so I think, I just wanted to say that for somebody who was said earlier, are the leaders asking God, what am I believing that's faulty here? And I know he is doing that. And I guess this is the last thing I wanted to ask was like in the alumni chat, the Facebook group, I think one of the things that has been difficult is like I'm aware that because I've gone through trauma myself and I've learned a bit about it. I'm aware that what is happening right now is just an explosion of like grief and trauma responses in lots of different ways. And my concern is like, so when you said I'm going to start moderating it, I was like, oh, like, how is that not going to be censoring in a sense of, because I wrote some posts like earlier in the week and last week that I actually thought were really balanced and great. And I was like, I wasn't out there saying anything like vicious, but the posts were like pending for ages, and I was like, are we being like silenced here? Like, what's going on?
Okay, great. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to that. That's fantastic. So thank you. Uh, so Thursday week ago. So what are we talking? Almost 10 days, 12 days. 12 days ago, I'm in a meeting and I get told I'm going to receive a statement and a video today. I'm not trying to throw people under the bus. I get told we're going to have this today. The page was a storm, and I went, you know what? Let's just pause and put on post moderation. This was my thinking. Could I have been wrong? Possibly. Right now, I would do the same thing. Let me be clear. And so I'm not going, I was wrong, and I'm also not saying that I don't. If I am wrong, I'm open to learning. I would love to learn. So I went, okay, I'm going to slow it down because there were a lot of people who were going, hey, this stuff's real. And there were a lot of people going, no, it's not. You're on a witch hunt, yada, yada, yada. I was trying to actually slow down those comments because I knew that from my understanding, hours' time, I was going to be putting forward a statement and suddenly those people would be regretting their comments. So that was actually my headspace and my heart space as to what I was trying to slow down. Obviously, Thursday turned into Sunday. And so the question was, when do I put it on? There were something like 40 or 50 posts that remained pending the whole time. And once Sunday, I think it was a circa 2 o'clock-ish, maybe it was a little later, forgive me, I went on and removed post moderation, started approving the posts. There were two that were saying, hey, is there going to be a response? I didn't post those because, well, there already had been the response at that point. There were two that I deemed pretty ugly that I didn't post. So, full disclosure, I'm not hiding anything. I did that. The rest got posted, and a couple I had to put in a little, hey, disclaimer, this post was written however many days ago, but is just going live now. Jordan's is the easiest one for me to point to as an example on that. So that was why that took place. I was really just trying to slow it down because I knew that a response was forthcoming. Maybe I could have just said that. I don't know that actually would have slowed the page down. I think it would have got louder. When I say moderation, what I mean is calling people to the standards of the rules, the group rules. Again, if you can't challenge me, you're not free. I used to tell my students this all the time. If you can't challenge me, you're not free. If you can't question me, you're not free. You have to be able to do it. How you do it is obviously matters. Please do it well. The reason I made the comment earlier, like as people report things, then I engage, is because it's not my page and I don't get to unilaterally decide what is and isn't acceptable. So if somebody says, hey, Shane, Rachel's comment has been reported for violating rule 1, 2, whatever, I don't know. I would write, typically, I would take a screenshot of the fact that it had been reported, not show you who's made the report, but take a screenshot. I would private message you and go, hey, your comments have been flagged. I'd really appreciate it if you can change the manner in which you're engaging. I've done that this week with several people, and to their credit, they responded beautifully. Do I see eye to eye with those people all the time? No, but they responded as good as I could possibly imagine.
Okay, that's really cool because I think, yeah, my concern was like part of the grief process of like, going through stuff is actually anger. Like it's just I see what you're saying. Like you don't want that anger to be chucked at other alumni, kind of And I get it. I just think like it's, yeah. And to be honest,
That's
I
yeah.
wouldn't have your job. It's like a hard thing. So yeah, just thanks for all you do. And yeah,
Yeah,
cheers.
I appreciate your questions. I've had a few people say, Shane, you're letting things go too far. Even this morning, I've had people come to me and go, Shane, you're letting things go too far. And I'm like, look, when people are in a place of grief, shock, yada, 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 they have to have room to be able to articulate things in more of a clunky manner.
Yeah.
At some stage, we have to go, yeah, this can't be how we live.
Yeah.
Um, uh, pray for me as I try to walk that one out, because we all grieve it in different ways, at different paces, etc., etc., etc. So I'm trying to lead a group of 5,000 people in that.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Cheers. Bex,
Sorry,
you're
Sarah
great.
Benny, you're up.
Hi, sorry.
You're
I
good.
ran into the room right when I was starting to do this. Thank you for taking the time to do all this, guys. My question kind of circles back. It's been a while since Jesse was on for his question, but he had mentioned the situation with Ben Armstrong. Obviously, we're here talking about Sean. Bob Hartley's been brought up. In the alumni group in particular, obviously people processing on very different ends of the spectrum about all of this. It's got me thinking about, does Bethel have language anywhere, or are we planning to bring out language in the midst of all of this to identify what you deem as harmful behavior from people who are in leadership, pastoral staff? Specifically, I think this was brought up in another question as well, but bringing language to, rather than labeling things as inappropriate or an affair, are there going to be guidelines made public that identify clergy sexual abuse as what it is, with definition and clarity? For example, in the alumni group, when I try to talk about that, some of the comments that I hear are, when are you going to grow up? And I just wonder if there's a lack of understanding about where Bethel stands on things like clergy sexual abuse, in particular with the Ben Armstrong situation. That conversation's coming up a lot right now. So I'm wondering, someone I think mentioned this a few questions ago, is the power dynamic going to be really pushed to be addressed in this process? And will there be language to this so that people who are alumni, who follow Bethel, who are part of the community, understand where Bethel stands as far as indiscrepancies from their staff and leaders? And are we defining things like sorry, my child's back here. Are we defining things like the world defines them? Or are we hiding, people have used the word deviant behaviors under the blanket name of grace or impropriety?
Yeah. Thank you. I don't, let me try and go in reverse order. I don't think, I know I'm speaking to the hearts. I don't think anyone has ever tried to hide anything. In a way of trying to cover up or anything like that. I mean, Kris has said it earlier. He's like, "Hey, I air out my own stuff all the time." Like it's just not his posture. I want to say absolutely the language will get released, the definitions would get released. I do think the SLT are grappling. I keep on coming back to that word, with this in a rigorous fashion. I am encouraged by what I'm seeing. I am close with most of the SLT. So they're saying, hey, man, we are thrashing this out. We're thrashing this and working this through. I don't see it being quick. I know I keep on saying that, but I do hope, sincerely hope, that everything is released, that everything's put on the table, and that, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to now utilize this and step into a place of, look at us. I would love to go. I would love it if people who have been hurt turned around and went, hey, look at Bethel, they've actually done a good job. I would love it if we never have to promote ourselves, but if other people went, man, they actually did that really well. And we recommend some of the ways that they went about it. So I'm hopeful that everything will get released. I don't get to say yes, it will in a definitive fashion. I can advocate for it and will advocate for it.
Right. And I'm just for clarity, I'm not even saying that the details of things need to be released. I'm more so saying, is there an effort going to be made to identify what is abuse and maybe that's been hidden under the guise of impropriety?
Yeah. I think that would be helpful. And I admitted, I never acknowledged that you had received inappropriate comments on the page. I'm sorry for that.
Oh, that's okay. It's
No,
nothing.
it's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
Well,
It's not. I hear you saying, hey, thank you for not pointing it at me. But it's not okay, and that's part of the problem. But how to engage with people when they're making those comments? And yes, I think giving them definitions and giving them, hey, this is actually how we think about it, would be super helpful to them. Then not actually making those comments.
Okay. And there's one more thing too, really quick before I have to go with my kids. Just because I saw this brought up in the comments a second ago as well in the chat here, it's worth, I think, at least me mentioning. People are bringing up, what about other kind of cult things that have sprung out from BSSM? And I just, for feedback's sake, since all of this is kind of coming out, I think it's worth noting that I reached out to BSSM Alumni a few years ago after a friend of mine was not from Bethel, but following closely to Mike Macharo and the Numa coaching business, I guess, that he had, because she followed Bethel and he was very much using his connection there as a platform. And at the time that things kind of went off the rails and he left, I did bring it up to the attention of the alumni to the best of my ability, the moderators. I'm not sure who that would have been at the time. But the response that I received was...
I would have been in there.
Okay. The response I received was on behalf of Bethel, that you guys didn't want to throw him under the bus, so you wouldn't be making any public statements, when I brought up that I was concerned that people who follow him because of his connection to Bethel and platform there, that they should hear something about it. But basically the answer from Bethel is, we don't want to expose him and we don't gather around doctrine, was the response that I received. So this isn't like, I'm not trying to dig up old skeletons. I'm just trying to say this is another situation that I've kind of carried for a few years of, we were kind of watching people being led in a direction by this guy, and someone close to me included in the group of people who spent a lot of money getting coached by him because of his connection to Bethel. And so to not hear anything from Bethel after that went out was painful for her, for the people that that I'm aware of in that situation. And so it's just another point to maybe take a look at in the midst of all of this, if you're already kind of examining what have we done in the past when people have been platformed by us and then we have gone separate ways and we've seen things fall off the bandwagon as far as shared core values.
Yeah. You've been incredibly gracious in the way you've spoken, because that may well have been me that responded. I can't say it was. I'm not saying it wasn't. It may well have been. And that is precisely the line of thinking that has got us into this whole mess. Was, yeah, we're not going to be the police and we're not going to throw people under the bus. So thank you for being so gracious. I apologize as the leader of the department back at that time, if it was me specifically, or if it was just from my team. I apologize that I'd love to have that time over. I'd love to get a redo on that one. So super sorry. Yeah, Mike's name is in front of SLT as one of the people that we need to make a comment about. You know, no part of me is stoked about making comments about anyone. And yet at the same time, I have seen and heard from hundreds of you, and I'm very convinced of the importance.
Great. Thank you for the response.
Sorry. Thanks.
Lila Richardson.
Hi. Yeah, thanks for everything that you shared and even just for making a space. I guess some of what I wanted to kind of ask questions about is I am in that group, so I do sometimes watch the page, and I've seen a lot of comments and questions and things posted on Facebook, and I'm listening to some of the responses, and I'm not entirely sure how to know how to sift the information, like between like what might just be gossip versus what's true. And I also haven't really watched all of the videos, and like I'm the person that maybe isn't super knowledgeable about every one of the people or topics, even though I've been impacted by some of them. For example, I know that they were talking earlier about their questions around NDAs and who signed what and all those things. And I think probably the heart behind it might be something like people trying to figure out what they can trust and who they can trust. And I get that. But for me, like some of it hits a little closer to home, just because it raises questions where then it makes more questions for me to try to figure out. So I even tried to ask in the chat some of what people might have been referring to about things. And like, I know now from the horse's mouth that Carrie, asked for an NDA as it was going to protect her from any more falsely written prophetic words about her marrying Bill, or she knew that those were about to be published in books and wanted to not be associated to prophetic words that she thought were maybe ignited from gossip. And that's why she hated the gossip so much, because it propelled false prophecies that she didn't feel were accurate. But people, when they're talking about those things, it's all from a like it doesn't sound like it's coming from a direct source. It comes more across like people trying to figure out what's real and what's gossip. And so as I'm processing like all the different things, because I'm sure for a lot of people, even though it might have been one topic or one person initially, it brings up other things, and you start to think about, whatever you have passed through and how it's impacted you. As I'm doing that, like, is there, I mean, and I'm not trying to rush anybody. I get that any response that's made, you need some time to think through that response. But how can we, how can we manage our hearts well so that we're not, as alumni or as a group engaging in gossip or engaging in, just a bunch of creating confusion? I don't think that's anybody's heart, but I'd like to know how, like your thoughts on how I can manage that well, especially whilst staying engaged in the conversation.
Yeah. I think you asked that beautifully. Thank you. I think I ask myself, why do I want to know? And that's really where I work out my filters. Why do I want to know this? am I going to take honest responsibility to try to do something with it? And if I don't answer yes to it, then I try to stay away from knowing the details of person ABC's stuff. You know, in regards to everything that's going on, I think as alumni, I'm like, hey, don't be backward in saying, hey, I want the information. I'm asking for the information because I'm trying to determine my thinking about it. I think that's healthy. Right? If you show me one side of a coin, I can only describe one side of a coin. So unless I start asking questions, how can I actually tell you that this is three-dimensional? I'm going to describe a two-dimensional object. Lame illustration. Hope you understand what I'm trying to get at. I would never want to suppress that. And even my first comment, you could go, oh, that's scary. That's kind of suppressing. No, ask the questions and go for it. If I'm going to be wrong, I trust Holy Spirit to convict me. Now, I don't want to be laissez-faire about that either and just be like, well, I'll be blasé and I'm just going to search out everything. I ain't doing that. So when some things are being brought to me without any evidence, I'm like, I don't know what you want me to do with this. If you bring me something that I can do something with it, but that's not me seeking it. That's when something's been brought to me. Then I can do something with it. And I have done stuff with things brought to me with evidence. I can't go and act on he said, she said type stuff. I have gone and asked questions to get more clarification about it. Not on every single one. Guys, again, there's 20,000 alumni. I get a reasonable amount of correspondence. I'm not sure if I've done justice to your question at all. So,
Yeah, you did. I appreciate the sentiment with things like that. Like I would assume that some like I don't actually know if people were ever able to do their third year with some of the people that have been mentioned or not. But for me, like that's an area that's really precious to my heart. And so to see people mentioning names and not having information can also be a little bit stressful and painful to watch. Uh, so I think that's part of why I'm bringing up the question, asking the question, because I really feel like it's super important to keep our hearts clean. Like we have a lot of opinions and we're trying to sift through things, but the reality is like it's that whole work out your own soul salvation with fear and trembling. Like we still have to fear God. We can't just be out here saying and doing whatever because we're accountable for those things. And so, like I said, I know personally I have an answer from, the horse's mouth, from the person that I can say, okay, yes, for sure. They asked for that. But I know that when I'm listening and looking around, the questions look like, yeah, as in she initiated. But so I think people are looking for information that, it can seem like it's indirect, right? Because they're just wanting to know what they can think about a larger organization. But pulling people's names into things is obviously pretty direct. Sorry, I see there, I can't actually read the chat, but because I had to get on my phone even just to raise my hand. So I see little things popping up that are asking what I said, I guess. I can say it again.
Yeah, I can't do it.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's my bad.
I think you've done really well in asking that question and communicating it. So thank you. Forgive me, I can feel my energy and whatever else dropping, so I had to throw some food in while you were talking.
Yeah. No, you're great. I saw someone go by that said, "Are you saying she asked for it?" Yeah, I am. I'm saying she asked for an NDA that would protect her from anything falsely written, any about her prophetic words about her marrying Bill or whatever, things that were going to be published. And she hated the gossip and it helped protect her. So, yeah, from things that she didn't feel were accurate. But, anyway, I'm grateful. I can't imagine trying to run anything that had 20,000 of anybody on any of that. So thank you for doing that. I've watched it over the years, not just recently, and I've been grateful for your help.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Hey, I will add this. You said it was painful or it's difficult to watch some things. I watched the entire Mike Winger video, and it's painful. And I highly recommend it. Yeah. If we are only going to put ourselves, let me say it this way. Let me go back so you understand a little bit about who I am. The way I got to Bethel, I mentioned before, I was a Baptist pastor. Okay. The way I got to Bethel was I never went to the conferences that my own denomination put on because I'm like, why would I want to go and hear a conference of the people who I'm already in partnership with? I want to hear different thinking and be challenged. I'll either be confirmed in my spot or I'll be moved. That's just my MO. It's how I function, how I operate. If I can't watch Mike, like the problem's not Mike. If I can't go to a Baptist church and find God, the problem's not God. In fact, I'm going to be going and preaching at the church that I was saved in, a Brethren Cessationist church, in a couple of weeks. If I don't experience God there, the problem's not God. Because he very clearly says, if I go to the depth of the ocean, if I go to the east, if I go to the west, if I go to the tallest mountain, I'm preaching. You get it. All right, Beck.
That's so good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Michelle McIver, you're up next.
Hi, thank you so much, Shane, and everybody who's still on the call. I wanted to share a couple of thoughts, and I also wanted to just submit something that I hope would be helpful on your end as you navigate this. And I was just listening to our leaders speak of a change of culture in the organization, but I'm not hearing a lot of talk about just the organizational reform. And it goes without saying Bethel's ballooned well past its capacity. And I'm just curious to know, is that part of the conversation right now? And again, we know this is almost like boiling the ocean in a way of all the things that need to be addressed. So it's not an overnight decision, but has there been talk about, like even with you talking about being short-staffed and not being able to answer emails, which are telltale signs of organizational distress when people can't do like the basic administrative functions? So just curious to know, are they looking at it from that perspective as well?
The reality of our situation right now is financially, we are very tight. So we've actually run at a deficit for a couple of years. I'm not convinced that additional hiring is going to be received as an idea. To be honest, I was joking, just checking whether or not I should say anything there. I've been joking with Beck about whether or not I would have a job in 6 months' time. So maybe this is good for my job security. Sorry, that is a really sick joke. That's horrible. Somebody actually wrote that to me yesterday. Sorry. It's not good for my job security. It's not good for my job at all.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. I wanted to, and again, we know this is not your decision, but I'd be remiss to not say it's not always about hiring more people. It's assessing whether or not you can handle the capacity of the size of the organization or reforming how you're delivering. And I think Bethel has, and I'm so thankful to have been. The Lord led me to Bethel in 2020, and I am thankful for that.
Yeah.
But while being there, just noticing just areas where I've always questioned, like, do you care more about the movement or do you want to shepherd a people? And I think those things get conflated and confused, and you're platforming prophets, but we don't need more prophets, right? We need the fear of the Lord and people who are going to lead us to closer to the Lord. So again, I'm just sharing this because I don't expect you to I'm not imposing you to have any answers to that.
Yeah.
But I pray that the leadership would start looking at that, like, who are we? Are we platforming? Are we doing the work of the church? And so I pray really that those realizations occur. But I did want to submit one thing to you, and I sent you a Facebook message just because I didn't know how else to contact you, and that I just sent it today. And this is something that had been on my heart for a couple of years, since being in a few years since being in second year. This thought came. And I'm like, wow, the alumni, there's so many. They've been brought up in this culture, or not just the culture, but the organization. We have leaders, we have pastors, we have HR, we have counselors, we have a wealth of information and people who have a heart for the organization. And why not stand up an advisory council that would provide an organized way for insight and feedback? And again, not to make demands or be watchdogs, but just a funnel of information and insight that would help you all proactively see where the kinks are, figure out the blind spots, and you're getting it from the people who've experienced the culture firsthand, who would have insight in the areas you all as leaders would not have. So that was just something I wanted, and I know you don't need any more work to do, but I felt I just wanted to submit that thought. I'm sure there are many people who are equipped and able to provide that support to you to help this along, and not just for this season, but just as a proactive measure to understand what people are experiencing in the organization. So those are just some of my thoughts.
That's great. If I reflect back what I heard, please clarify if I've got anything wrong. But what I think I just heard was Jethro coming to Moses and saying, "Hey, I'm not trying to claim I'm Moses. Okay, just to be clear, I'm well aware of who I am. But hey, it's not good for you to try to do it. Like, let's find a way and utilize the people to do it."
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, I think you're right.
Bless you, Shane.
Cheers. Beck.
David Smith, you're up.
Hey, Shane. Thanks again for the call. I want to preface this by saying I was one of the people impacted by this, but also really thankful for the way that Bethel has gone low in this regard. My brother and I were talking about that. No organization has been willing to publicly announce, "Hey, we handled this wrong," and say we need to work through it and take the long haul. So I'm very thankful for that. With my question, again, I'm going to say some stuff, and I don't mean it as aggressive as probably it'll sound. There is a little bit of a reputation. I was part of Bethel for 5 years, did ministry school, helped with Bethel worship, but there is a little bit of reputation for Kris outside of perhaps Bethel, but even within Bethel amongst some of the staff, that he can be a bit of a bulldozer or a bully. And the great thing about him is that when he finally recognizes a mess that he's made, he's willing to apologize. However, it does appear that there is a underlying MO of like, "Hey, I'm going to get this done and I'm going to move forward." And he is, because of his anointing, people sort of let him move. I would say as a person who's removed from Bethel, like there is a concern of that feels like more, I mean, it's behavioral, but it feels like also perhaps a core issue for him where he's okay with operating in that MO a little bit. How is that being coached? And I think, the concern was even raised here today where he's like, "Hey, we're going to listen more." And then today he talks for an hour and a half and then leaves without listening. And then the second question, so there's, I think in some of this, the language that was sort of conveyed before things were repented for was like, man, if we uncover Sean, like it does damage to the prophetic movement or the revival culture. And I do mean this as harsh as it sounds. In one sense, I'm like, who cares? Because if we're trying to hold up a
My
revival,
keyboard, Arabic?
if we're trying to hold up a revival movement with human hands, it's really easy for that to be torn down. And it feels like what the alumni, what the body of Christ, who I really loved how you said, like, that's what your heart is for, is this the body of Christ. I feel like we're saying, man, let the whole thing burn if it needs to burn, like, and I think the cry for saying, can we expose other leaders, isn't like, hey, let's just expose everybody so we can see their dirty laundry. But it's, as students, as alumni, we've been saying, man, we want the purity of God. We want the purity of this movement to happen. And so why do we have to sort of hide people's behavior if we're in process with them? And in reality, some of the stuff should be exposed. And so maybe some of the prophetic movement does need a massive shift and a massive look, so we're not covering up people who are anointed, but man, are lacking character. I guess my question in all that is, man, can we allow a bunch of this stuff that we've sort of made church? Can we let it go and expose for the sake of what feels like that God's doing a purity movement? And how does Bethel want to walk that out? A couple of big questions.
Yeah.
Sorry if it's too much.
No, it's fantastic. Firstly, nothing about how you spoke or what you said. You didn't need to give a disclaimer or apology at the start. So thank you. I chuckle because I love your questions. They're questions that I personally ask and grapple with my buddies. In no way, shape, or form am I equipped to answer for Bethel. I think the things that you raised in your question, or the questions, I think I can take those to Kris and go, hey, here's some feedback, and I'm going to give you the feedback in the form of questions, and I hope he'll respond to those. And I think I've already said it on this call, like, there's some real validity in, hey, you're going to listen, but didn't listen. And to be fair, I don't know what his schedule was. I don't know what he canceled this morning to be on the call, and I don't know what he was going to when he got off the call. So again, if I'm going to say, hey, we need to seek to understand each other, I also need to do that same thing with him. I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. Questions about what does church look like? What should church look like? Is it an organization? It's the people of God. Okay, let's start talking about the people of God gathering together. And these are the questions and topics I love. I personally would be inclined to go house church style. That's me, because I want to go deep with people. I want to do life with people. I know I'm where I'm supposed to be. I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't like walking into a building with thousands of people, most of whom I don't know and have little to no connection with, or whatever else. That just doesn't work. But at the same time, a bunch of people love it. I apologize. I am really tired now. I don't even know that I got close to answering any of your questions, apart from saying I don't think I can answer them.
I recognize the tiredness because this has gone on for a long time. And we could probably have a great conversation about what church should look like, which I don't want to do here. But I do feel like, people like Mike Winger or Julie Royce, perhaps their methods aren't always loved across the board. Maybe even you sort of were saying that with Jesse earlier, but the reality is we need what they're doing. Yeah. And it just feels like, I think even for us as alumni, we're recognizing, we have in one sense been told that we represent Bethel, but I think there's a flip side where, like, man, Bethel used to really represent us, and now it doesn't feel like it does in the same way. And I don't think that protecting that isn't the goal, and it feels like over and over what we're saying, and hopefully that it's coming across is you've platformed people and you know stuff, so stop. But what does that look like in regards to other people that are currently platformed that we know about? I mean, recognizing that these people are gifted. Like I do know, that Sean had a prophetic gift and it got all kinds of money. And I think that's what it is to be human, is we fall, um, and then, like even Benny Hinn, like had the measure of the Holy Spirit, but then like crazy the stuff that he does. But like Bethel has brought him in, and Todd White, and like I've been in both of those circles and know what it's like under the cover. And I think the inability for Bethel to say anything because they're like, oh, we want to honor the person. I think it has to be dual. And like maybe that's part of the culture you're talking about, where it's like we have to uncover the reality that, and there's a bunch of stuff that's not great, and we can't just not talk about it because it's doing damage. So that's it. I'm done. Thanks.
You're great. You're great. Thank you.
Jillian Davidson, you're up next.
Thank you for taking my question. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, good. Okay. One question actually I had was, what is there any kind of a time frame that those of us that have sent an email regarding data mined words can expect to hear back? It had been well, what was it, a week and a bit since I have written, and I hadn't heard anything.
I wish I could give you a hard, fast answer. I can say that I just saw a text message from Beck, actually, which alerted me to the fact that there's about 20 text messages on my phone. Some from Steve Moore. I was texting him earlier on the call, like, "Hey, bro, do we have answers for this? Are you gonna speak to this thing, that thing, or whatever else?" And he just said, "Hey, sorry, I didn't see these till after I was off. Things are being investigated. Things will be reported."
I see. Okay, no worries about it. I just wasn't sure, if they're what to expect, I guess.
Yeah, look, I kind of read between the lines. I never heard a public comment. I never heard a formal comment about Sean. This is me as a staff member speaking about myself, my process. I never heard a formal thing about Sean. What I noticed was Sean went from being invited to Bethel 4 times a year to, I went, I don't have to be the smartest man in the room to say something's going on. Now, please hear me. I am not saying Bethel was fine and whatever else. We should have made a statement. And I'm saying we in that boat. When I look at what I understand to be the circumstances around Lindsay, I go, however, I'll reserve those thoughts and comments till I get proper information from SLT.
Yeah. For me, his book, God Secrets, he wrote about me, both the actual event, and then I defended him later on, not knowing what was going on. And then again, I think it was Charisma magazine. Somebody wrote an article in which they had investigated my stuff and they could find everything on Facebook. And I didn't know yet. That was 2019, I think. I didn't know that was going on. And so I defended him again. And now I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I wish I had known. But I have people in the news that are saying, you're equally culpable, and because you defended him. And say, oh boy.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I think our desire to want the best and to protect people is noble, but it has to be held in tension, and I don't think we set people up super well with that regard. So I'm so sorry, and I'm so sorry that news agencies or media or whatever else are contacting you saying you're culpable. Like, I don't know, is believing in the like, is believing the best and wanting to believe in the best.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. It's just, wow.
It's not
Yeah.
until it means that I don't
Mhm.
acknowledge stuff, and
Yeah.
but here you are.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm
My
sorry.
other question is an older one, not related to Sean. Had a thing happen on a mission trip and was falsely accused, and it was dealt with from the pulpit 10 years later, where Kris recognized that he had misunderstood a situation, but never directly to me. And it has bothered me being there. I guess I'm asking, is it appropriate for me to bring something like that up? I don't want to pile on top of, that's not my heart, but it has bothered me all these years, and I don't know. What's
So
your thought?
what I'm hearing you say is it would be important for you as a step towards closure.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so when I read scripture that talks about, hey, before you take communion, if you've got a grievance, take it to them, have that conversation.
Okay. Thank you.
Am I making clear my thoughts
Yeah.
on it? Okay.
Yeah, you are. I appreciate that.
And I don't mean that as a derogatory or a condemning, like you need to go. I mean that as a,
Yeah.
no, I think if you're saying actually there's something still there and I need to,
Yeah.
you'd
Okay.
be mad to not.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Latasha, you're up.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for, again, making the space. I have a couple questions and I'll try to be concise here. The first question, and maybe if I apologize if these questions have been asked because I was in and out because I had meetings and things today. But I think it might be a good idea if we could have, as an alumni, another Zoom like this, mainly because I know for me, I was in and out and I had to like fit this in between some things. And I'm sure you guys did too. So I think especially for the alumni that could not be here today because of other commitments, is it possible for us to have another Zoom meeting?
Yes. Does that mean Kris on it? I don't know. Does that mean Bill on it? I don't know. Is it possible for us to have more alumni meetings? Yes. Do I think that people ultimately want to hear me? No. So there is a tension there for me. So
Sure.
let me make a point here. When it was going to be alumni and Rebecca and I, all right, there was 120, 130
Yeah, that's
people
right.
that had signed up for the call. Okay. So in a day and a bit, we'd had 120, 130 people sign up. Within an hour of saying KV's on the call, we had more than doubled that.
Sure.
So I'm not discrediting it. What I'm saying is I do need to be a little bit wise about who do people actually want to hear from. And
Can I just respond to that?
Please.
To be fair, I've tried to figure out how to get on the alumni calls, and it is not clear to me how to do that. So it might actually not be clear, not so much that people don't want to hear from you, but it might not be clear that on how to do that. Because if I'm honest, I've tried to jump on things for the alumni, and it's either over or the time, I'm a missionary in Portugal. So, it's either over or the time. So maybe there is a lack of clarity on how to do that. So just wanted to, not
Great.
meaning to interrupt, but just to push back a
No,
little
you're
bit.
great. You're great. I welcome the pushback. I said it
Yeah.
before, not going to shut you down for it. So that's great. That's helpful feedback. We can think about and try to work through how to do that better. I do think people want to hear. People didn't come to school for Shane Mandl. And I'm not upset about that. I didn't come to school for Gabe Valenzuela. I didn't come to school do you know what I mean? I came to school because I wanted to hear Bill and Kris. And realistically, I wanted to hear Bill because Kris offended me at the time.
Well, to be honest, like I can say that from my perspective, I came to school because Jesus said, come to Bethel. So I wasn't even familiar with super familiar with the personalities, and I'm just saying like
Yeah.
I'm talking more of like a space to process what
Yeah.
was happening
Great.
versus like hearing
Great.
from Bill or Kris, because there might be people that want that.
Yeah. Okay. So to answer that question, yes, there can
Okay.
be. So,
Okay. Thank you.
so all I was trying to say is I'm not sure that I don't think that people will jump on and respond the way that they did on this call.
Sure.
So, but that doesn't negate your question in any way, shape, or form. So yes, we can. You know, it probably means doing an afternoon call, which, gosh, conceptually, considering that we've now gone for 3.5 hours on the call,
Yeah.
as a concept, I'm like, dear Lord, no, I want to have dinner with my family. You know, but that's in part, that's why we do the morning call and the afternoon call each month, is because we try to hit time zones. We try to give people an opportunity to be there. So it is going to be a struggle to get one in anytime very soon, because
Okay.
I fly out on Monday and I'm gone for a week, and then I have other travel commitments immediately when I get back. So we will do our best to get a couple of these on the page.
Sure. Okay. Thank you for that response.
You're welcome.
My second question is for there have been quite, let me just give the context in that I heard about the stuff with Sean a couple of years ago. It was never said publicly, but it was sort of like in the grapevine. There were a lot of people that I know that were actually making things public, were saying this to people in their space, and it was not because, you know, Bethel was silent on it. They were kind of hurt via um, because of the silence, they were kind of put into the rejection category.
Yeah.
Just wondering, and again, I apologize if this has already been asked, but is there anything, should those people also be reaching out to Bethel, or should we just preserve this space in this moment for just the people who are kind of victims of this and let Bethel do that research and maybe follow up? Or is that just kind of like not something that's been considered?
I'm not sure that I totally understand. I think what I'm hearing
Sure.
is that there was a group who, when they flagged some stuff years ago and there was a non-response, they went, okay, well, we essentially, that's our answer and we walk away.
No, I mean like they maybe, so for example, they brought it up in different environments that they had an influence in, because when they found out about it, they felt a responsibility to say, hey, this is what we've heard. We think Bethel's aware, and we want to we want to be honorable and integritous with the information that we have, and sort of as a direct consequence of that, and because there was silence from Bethel on that end, there wasn't really those people were kind of outcasted, is what
Sure.
I'm trying to say. More of that sort of situation more than the other.
Okay.
Hopefully that's clear.
Outcasted.
Meaning like in their particular environments, or even just by other students and things like that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry, I was struggling, but I'll take
I
that
know
as
you're tired, so it's
yes,
fine.
I am, and that's exactly. I'm like, oh no, this is just evidence of me getting really, really tired.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, look, I don't think there's a right definitive. This is what it needs to look like. If you've got someone on your heart, absolutely reach out to them and be like, hey, if there's something you want to try again, try again.
Okay.
You know, I hope we do it better this time. Like in all honesty, like, wouldn't it suck to be like, hey, come try again, and by the way, we're going to kick you again.
Yeah.
Like that would suck. So if I had somebody, if the Lord was bringing somebody to mind, somebody was on my heart, whatever language we want to use, would I reach out to them? Yes, I would.
Okay.
Because I would take my approach is I would take that prompting as a step from the Lord, and And even though I can't manage or control the outcome, I do need to be faithful with that nudge, that prompting. So that's how I would approach that. Would I be making blanket sort of canvas? Hey, if you're in this category,
Sure.
I probably wouldn't, but I don't have a problem with it per se.
Okay.
It's just not an approach I would personally take.
Okay. And then I think the last question is just in terms of what in terms of the screening process. I think that was mentioned earlier that there's going to be a process of better screening people on the platform. I would ask, is this going to also extend to mentors, especially third year mentors? I had a very interesting third year mentor experience, and so I'm wondering if it will also extend to those environments as well, the screening.
Who mentioned the screening?
I think it was mentioned earlier where they talked, well, he said, I don't know if screening was the word used, but he said that there would be some kind of process to better, like before we put people on our platform to, vet those people's character a little bit better. Or did I mishear that?
I ran to the bathroom at one point when Kris was talking. It was in that kind of
Okay.
time frame. So I don't know that I heard it correctly. I do know that there's this funny thing happening with inside of SLT where there's the older SLT and the younger SLT. They're not divided in any way, but there's this kind of like this weird thing there. They are thrashing out some of that. Like, hey, we need to do this better. We need some good quality accountability here. We need a vetting here. I remember as a student in first year, Bill very clearly saying, hey, I've got this person coming in as a guest, and I don't agree with lots of the things about who they are, the way they live their life, and whatever else. However, they are anointed, and I want you to be exposed to the anointing. That was my first year class. Wildly challenging, given my background. And if I'm honest, it was wildly challenging watching the response of the student body, who seemed to lap up every part of what the person had said, rather than just going, there's some meat here, but there's some bones that we need to be aware of too.
Right.
And maybe as a school, we remember the school started, again, not trying to defend, the school started with a bunch of students who were from inside of the congregation or closely connected. So there was a lot of access. It was a lot smaller. There was a lot of access. There was a lot of also cultural understanding. I think you said you came not knowing much, just hearing the word from the Lord.
Yeah.
Largely, it's true of my wife and I. Bill was the one person that I'd listened to. I had tried listening to Kris and found myself offended. My wife knew very little, very, very little. So we came going, we know that this is what God has said. That's a vastly different, we came from a vastly different place than the early couple of years of school.
Sure.
I don't know that leadership ever made an adjustment going, hey, we're drawing from a vastly different group, and therefore we can't assume where they're at, their prior knowledge, their relational ability to come and bring things to us, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think as a school, we probably made a bunch of assumptions, not probably. I think as a school, we made a bunch of assumptions that ultimately have failed us and failed the student body.
Okay. I appreciate your answer. Again, this is all, we heard you guys or at least I heard you when you said it was going to be slow. So I get it. And I appreciate you taking the time to answer.
Super welcome. Thanks for sticking around so long to ask your questions.
Yeah.
And
Becky,
Jamie, we got last one that has their hand up.
bless you, Jamie. You need to unmute though, because I'm not that good at lip reading.
Sorry, I thought I had pressed it. It
You're
didn't.
great. You're great.
Thank you for waiting. I wasn't gonna say anything because I don't have any real questions.
Right.
But I did have a couple of things to say.
Mm-hmm.
So I found Bethel because I was invited to a conference after COVID, the women's conference, the first women's conference after COVID. And Havilah said something that sparked a voice that the Lord spoke to me. He sparked something that he said when I was 16 that I was told was making excuses for sin. And then I listened to one message from Kris and one message from Bill. And both of those messages sparked something else the Lord spoke to me when I was 16. And I needed something more because I was just drowning in depression. I was drowning in a lot of things. And this was like the last thing. I was like, I need you to move in my life here or it's done. And so I say that because after I applied and somehow I got into to BSSM. I don't even know how that happened because I got here and I'm like, what is going on? What is really going on here? I say that to say that this is probably not what anybody's expecting to be said today. But I mean, it was the Lord that did it, but Bethel and BSSM and what I learned from the leadership and in classes and through the Transformation Center has saved my life. I came out of cover up culture in a church that caused a lot of harm. And I haven't said anything. I'm not going to go into detail. I've only talked about it in the Transformation Center. And so when all of this came up and I watched the video and it was incredibly hard, but to actually hear real accusation of cover up culture and to come out of that, to really cover up real abuse for a really long time, to where it messes with your mind. Did it really happen? That kind of cover up isn't what I'm seeing here. I'm not seeing leadership say, oh, we know the truth about something and we're going to intentionally cover it up and create a false truth and a false narrative. What I'm seeing is leadership that were like, you know what? Yeah, we heard about this and we didn't trust them and we took the platform away and we made a huge mistake. It has been really hard for me because of all of the triggers of true like cover up culture and also paranoia coming up of, are they really cover? Because when you actually are on the other side of that cover up, of people covering up their harm to you and being very successful at it, being very successful, so I'm like, okay, well, I go to counseling at the Transformation Center. That's the first person I've truly trusted with my soul. I mean, other than Jesus, but a person. Oh, do I need to go somewhere else? And for counseling. And then as far as this, like the little question inside of me, like it's not, some of you, might just be like, oh, is it true? For me to say, oh, is it true? Really shakes my entire foundation, not in my trust in the Lord, but I'm just like, oh gosh, did they really? Even though I'm not seeing that, because a true cover up, nobody would be coming up and admitting anything. There would not be any of that. And so I guess that's just where I'm at, of like this, on one hand, this house and this teaching created a safe bubble for me to recognize that I was being seriously harmed. And I actually had a place to come to truly escape to sanctuary in the Lord and to have a safe environment and safe teaching. I've learned how to truly like read the Bible. Like I'm safe right now. And so to have that safety a little bit shaken is really kind of hard. And I guess that's I wasn't going to say anything, but I just do feel like after I say things out loud, I'm able to process them. So maybe I'll be able to process something later. And thanks for listening. And I do pray for the leadership, and it might just be my over willingness and ability. I've always optimistic. Um, I just have a really optimistic view. And so what I see is actually something really good. I see the Lord coming in and shaking a house as an example, because what this is doing is what happened in me when this shaking of the home and leadership having to come forward. I actually saw what was in my own field. It was exposed because my own self, my own foundation, my own church within me, the bride, like me being my temple was shaken. And what I noticed was I saw foxes and I saw rats that fled, that left my field. And I think that if we could maybe see what the Lord is doing in this, for everybody, and I'm not saying people aren't hurt. I think that there's so much healing coming for this house and coming for everybody who was shunned and kept quiet through all of this. I know what it is to try to say something and it not be heard. And so I just actually pray for all of those hearts and all of those minds to be healed and to be heard in a safe place. Amen. That's all.
Hey, Jamie, thanks for taking the time to share. I appreciate that's not an easy thing for you to do, especially with what you were sharing. So thank you. I can see that two new hands have come up. I'm willing to keep on taking questions till 1 o'clock. Okay, so I'll give another 16 minutes. If that's 1 question, 2 questions, or 10 questions, bless the Lord. Okay, but I'm going to put a just because. Go, Bex. Who we got?
Jen, you're up.
Okay. Jen? There we go.
I'm so not used to using my mobile device for Zoom calls, but I was on the road. So I've been on here since minute number 1, and my heart is bursting. It's actually bursting because it's the only thing I posted with my own words on the alumni pages. I'm actually really proud of us. And I want to honor Shane, Bax, everyone here on this call. I see a number of you nodding your heads. This is a difficult situation, and there's so much angles and layers and nuances, and for us to be able to hold this space and give grace to one another, whether it's leadership, whether it's to someone processing trauma and grief, I want to commend us. I've been a part of multiple movements. I just turned 50 last year, so I've been involved in a lot of revival streams. And I just want to say how we're doing it is freaking messy, but it is so beautiful and healthy. And we are bumping into each other and we're falling by the wayside and someone's picking us up. And I just want to honor us, because there's something about even what you said, Jamie, about, sometimes we just need to be heard, and sometimes our voices need to come out. And through us actually recognizing that there's safe spaces to do that, whether it's in a small group, whether it's in this call, whether it's with a leader, I honestly feel that there's so much grace flooding this house and even the body, because most of you on this call don't know me, but I have laid my life down for the alumni. Like, I have bled for this group. I'm not a pastor. I've traveled around the world and I've pulled people underneath me. I'm like, you are not going down, because there's something about what God is doing on the earth that is so beautiful, and we're in it. We're in the arena, guys. And so I just want to speak strength, and I want to speak fresh hope and fresh vision for us to continue the perseverance and give us a ton of grace. We're walking this out as best as we can with the information we have and what we don't even know. And so I just really sense that God is raising a standard, and this standard, it looks really weird going up that Flagstaff, because no one's ever done it as an organization and as a community. And I honestly feel like we're resetting something that has never been seen. So of course we're going to make a ton of mistakes. We don't know what we're doing. We've never been here before. None of us have been here before. So I just want to speak that out over us, because I've had to speak that to my heart. I was like, heart, listen to me. We're moving forward, and Jesus is the best leader, and we are going the right direction. And man, it is hard. We're doing it. And so I just want to speak yes and amen to all of us. It is happening, guys. We've been praying for revival. It's here and it's going, and we're part of it. And I just really want to say, Shane, I'm so glad you put a mark, because I was like, you got to get off this call. Because leadership is not easy. There is like so many things going on, not just this issue. When I pray for leaders, I'm so aware they have spouses, they have families, they have other things. They're dealing with bills, for freaking crying out loud, you know? And I would just feel like there's something about the holistic understanding that we're all in it together. And so I just want to speak that over us, because sometimes I feel we get so stuck in the weeds and tell me this and tell me that. And Holy Spirit, He is doing 7 billion things at the same time right now. And so take courage. We're doing it. We're not jumping ship. Shane, we're in this. We're not jumping ship.
Come on.
Bex, we're in this. We are not jumping ship. We are going to go through this, because there's a refinement, and I want to see us all as gold. Amen.
Thanks, Jan. Thank you. Hey, you made a great point there, and everybody who's still on the call, I should have said it earlier, but everybody who's still on the call should know this emphatically, that this call would not have happened without Rebecca Phillips. Okay, so Rebecca Phillips championed this call. She said, Shane, do you think we need to have a call? I'm like, that's scary. Yes. I don't think I really want to. She said, I think we need to. I said, you feel this strongly, don't you? And she's like, yep. I'm like, ugh. And I deferred to her resolute, we need to have this. So Bex, to you. Well done. Joy, your hand.
Thank you. And yeah, Joy.
Sorry. Yes, Bex.
No, you're good.
I just want to encourage you and say thank you, Bex, thank you, Shane. And when I've been listening on a call, and also behind the scenes processing a lot, because we all are. Basically, I wanted to say two things that came to mind while on the call, just to encourage you, because you've been waiting all this time. Bless your heart, you've had a tiny bit of food and you need to go and have some rest for yourself. Okay, is one, the fact that God reminded me of a pruning in the garden, and the fact that He made that garden, hasn't He? He's made our creation around, so He speaks often through it. And I just want to release that whole thing of the fact when a rose gets pruned, okay, it gets pruned hard, doesn't it? It looks painful at the end of the stump and everything, but there's a great growth from that. So I just want to say that to all of you there, and to all of us, and in the whole church body worldwide as well, but particularly you right now, because you've been on this call forever, and I'm off to work lying down in the UK listening to this. So it's a bit different your day. So I want to release that and encourage you that in this pruning time, and I'm seeing it all over the news as well, what's going on secularly, and I can see God's pruning and bringing and sifting to light, not only in the church, but what I can see in my news and watching the BBC even recently. So I just want us to you to kind of be encouraged by that. And also the other, you probably know where the verse is, where it says about, I think it comes where Jesus is seeing his disciples squabbling about where they should be sitting on the table. And it says about those who be great be made humbled, and those who are humbled be made great. And years ago, God showed me that's like a circular action. So where there's and God is pruning it now, where something has got great and fantastic and given so much back to the church and the body of Christ, I want you to be encouraged that, that humility and that humbling process, it's for purpose. It will have its, thing. And we know in Isaiah 55, God says his word basically come down and do what he intends it to do. That's my wonderful paraphrase. But I also want to say that when I was at Bethel, and I only got to go for 1 year, but God said to me very, very clearly in one of the sessions where Holy Spirit let rip, and I think everyone at the front realised that it wasn't people being disrespectful, and the whole room got completely blasted. And in that session, God said to me, be comfortable with the uncomfortable. And ever since then, every part of my life, not just the simplicity of living out of a bag, but in so many other ways, God has shown me the power of that, and how, being uncomfortable is so important, and how, sitting in this process right now for all of us, and particularly for yourselves, there's going to be a lot of fruit in that. And the fact that if we can be okay with uncomfortable, that's the places that we grow, isn't it? I remember at Bethel, one of the things that it was like, if something's difficult, run at it. That was the kind of the culture I remember of I receiving one bit of it. So, and that's a commendable, because we grew more. So, I just want to say that, because a lot of Christians think being comfortable is part of being Christian, and it's not. And I'm not saying you guys do, but like, it's being comforted is different than comfortable. And it's something that's been on my heart for many, many years. But I just want to kind of encourage you at this time, and I'm praying for you all, and to sort of really kind of leave that there, because there's other things I've got thoughts, but I don't think it's the right moment now at this point. So to be encouraged to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. And bless you, Shane. Go and get some rest in time with
Thank
Jesus.
you. Thank you. So, hey, we said this a couple of times. I really appreciate what you were saying there, Joy. That's gold. Very encouraging. Jen as well. Thank you. That there's a real tension here. Okay. And part of where I want to be careful, I don't want to pull the reins and pull the horse back. And at the same time, I don't want to let the reins go and go, let's run, and go, oh, we just left a bunch of people behind. And so I'm trying to navigate some of that. I'm excited about your positivity and your let's go. Legitimately, I'm excited about it. Personally, I still think I've got some processing to do. So be patient with me and others as we catch up. Don't be disheartened. The pioneers are somewhat used to and accustomed to the idea of, man, these people are a bit slow. Normally I'm an early adopter, but right now I'm definitely going to be a bit of a slow adopter, or a late adopter, I think the correct term is. So bear with us. But I do agree. I agree because I know the goodness of God. I know that God He won't waste the opportunity to produce fruit. He won't waste the opportunity to bring growth and to bring health and to bring vitality here, and hopefully here, hopefully globally here. I really do believe that and hold that firm. So let's come before the King of Kings and just say, God, we trust you. And God, we ask that you would cause each one of us to grow. We want to grow personally. We want to grow corporately. Will you give us eyes to see? Will you give us ears to hear? Will you give us wisdom? Thank you for your promise that when we ask for those things, you are ready to dispense them. God, I thank you in advance for the ability to hear things afresh, to see things in a new way, to be able to appreciate the perspectives of others, to be able to engage as well. God, as much as I want the perspectives of people and I want to validate, and as much as I want to be able to hear, I need heaven's perspectives. God, will you help me to see from heaven's perspective? Will you help me to hear? Will you help us to be a people that blare the trumpet sound of heaven? God, we speak to the pain that is being opened up, the wounds that are being honestly revealed, and God, we speak to those places, and we know what heaven's plan is, that much life would infuse those spaces, that there would be complete healing and complete restoration. God, I ask that on every side of this multifaceted conversation, for every person. God, we love you. You're worth our energy. You're worth our time. You're worth the sacrifice. We consider it a joy. We look forward to what you're going to achieve, to what you're going to accomplish. And we say thank you for the chance to be part of your story as you bring health and healing to the body of Christ. Jesus, we pray this in your name. Amen. Guys, thanks heaps. Really, really appreciate being on the call with you all. I really appreciate the manner with which you guys have spoken, shared, challenged. I welcome it. There's going to be lots of updates. I don't know how and when, but good Lord, there's going to be a lot of them. There were lots of phenomenal questions, and look forward to disseminating that material as quickly as I can. Yeah, so thank you. Much grace. Take care. Bye.